Chapter 551. Xiaobai. She opened her mouth. She wanted to wake him up, but she didn't say anything after thinking about it. Forget it. He must have rushed back from another place and received Empress Dowager Zhou's order without even resting. Then he immediately rushed over to take her away. So he must be too tired. She would just let him sleep for a while without being disturbed. Ning closed her eyes. She also wanted to sleep for a while. But her mind was filled with Mo Chuan's figure. Her heart felt like it was on fire. So how could she sleep? Mo Chuan, Mo Chuan. Her eyes stared right at the curtains on the bed as she kept calling out Mo Chuan's name in her heart. If their hearts were connected, he would definitely be able to hear her heart calling out to him. If he heard it, he would know that she wasn't dead. If he knew that she wasn't dead, would he be able to find her? Ning's eyes slowly filled with a layer of moisture. She knew that he wouldn't be able to find her. Although Chu Xiaobai looked pure, as someone who grew up in the royal family, how could he be as pure and harmless as he looked? The truth was that not only was he smart, he was also very meticulous. He must have already prepared an escape route, making it so that no one would be able to find them. She slowly turned her eyes and looked around this strange and crude room. She knew that this was not an inn, but rather a farmhouse. Chu Xiaobai was indeed very smart. He knew that staying in an inn in the city would be the easiest way to leave clues, so he found a farmhouse to stay in. He had changed his appearance, and even she couldn't recognize him. So how could she expect others to recognize him? Mo Chuan, you have to come. You have to find me. Suddenly, her ears twitched as if she had heard a faint sound. There was a mouse? Following that, her eyes blurred and there was an extra person in the room. That person's back was facing the candlelight, and in the dim light, she could only see that this person was wearing tight black clothes. His back was straight, and his legs were slender as he walked step by step towards the bed. He did not make a single sound. If she didn't personally see it, she would not have heard the sound of that person's footsteps. Her heart was pounding nervously, and her eyes were wide open as she stared straight at that person. Was it Mo Chuan? Was he Mo Chuan? If he wasn't Mo Chuan, then who was he? Would he hurt Xiaobai? Ning forcefully bit her lips, not knowing if she should wake Chu Xiaobai or not. Suddenly, that person's face tilted slightly, and the dim candlelight shone on his face. That extremely familiar brows and eyes were like distant mountains and rivers, and his deep and serene eyes were like unmeltable ink. The rims of her eyes became hot, and tears immediately flowed out. He was Mo Chuan. He had finally found her. Mo Chuan raised his finger at her and made a gesture for her to keep quiet. She blinked to show that she understood and then held her breath. Chu Xiaobai was in a deep sleep, not noticing that there was another person in the room at all, nor did he hear Mo Chuan's footsteps. He was very tired and his mind was very relaxed. He never would have dreamed that Mo Chuan would find him this quickly. Mo Chuan suddenly made a move and gently tapped Xiao Xian's point, and Xiaobai was. Chu Xiaobai was already in a deep sleep, and adding in his acupuncture point ceiling, he would need at least 10 to 12 hours to wake up. Chapter 552. Mo Chuan had a complicated expression. Although he hated Chu Xiaobai for coming up with this stupid idea of taking Ning away, he knew that this fellow was doing this for her good, so he didn't blame him. Adding in the fact that he and Chu Xiaobai were around the same age and were uncle and nephew, they were like brothers, so he couldn't bear to blame him. But thinking of how this fellow acted on his own and almost took away his beloved girl, he didn't want to let Chu Xiaobai off so easily. Thinking about it, he decided to let him have a good sleep. When he woke up and found that she was gone, he would be left to worry about. Ninger, what's wrong? Are you injured? Mo Chuan quickly found that Ning's body was stiff in his embrace, not moving at all. He thought that her acupuncture point had been poked, but when he checked her pulse, it was normal. The medicine effect hasn't passed. Ning's lips moved. He nodded. Let's leave this place first. He carried her as he pushed open the door. Under the moonlight, there was a gray figure standing in the yard. Seeing this person, Ning was instantly shocked. Did this person just get struck by lightning? She blinked her eyes several times before recognizing him. This person who had been blown up beyond recognition was actually Zhou Feng. His current appearance was very embarrassing and funny. It was not the respectful but arrogant appearance he had in front of her before. She turned her eyes and understood what had happened. She secretly laughed at Xiao Bai for doing a good job. This fellow had taken advantage of Xiao Ru and couldn't wait to push the blame away, making her angry. She wanted to give him a few thunderbolt eggs to have a taste. The horse carriage that Chu Xiao Bai had brought her was parked in a yard. Mo Chuan carried her into the carriage, and Zhou Feng also jumped in, sitting in the driver's seat. With a wave of his whip, the horse stepped into the moonlight, leaving the farmhouse and heading for the capital city. In the carriage, there was only him and her. The sky was not bright yet. Only the silver moonlight shined through the window, creating a faint white veil over their bodies. He stared deeply into her eyes. Those eyes almost melted her, making her face turn red and her heart beat faster. Not long ago, she was filled with despair. She thought that she would never see him again, but she never thought that in the blink of an eye, he would appear in front of her. She almost suspected that she was dreaming. A sweet and intoxicating feeling filled her eyes. She also looked at him in a daze, unwilling to close her eyes. What if this was a dream, and she suddenly woke up? Ninger, I knew I would find you. Now, I have finally found you. He hugged her tightly in his arms, hugging her so tightly that she couldn't breathe. She pressed her face against his chest and listened to his heart beating fast and forcefully in his chest. Her eyes became moist. This was the world she wanted. The world she wanted was not to roam around the world, but to be in his embrace. If she didn't like Mo Chuan, if she was still the same as before, then without a doubt, everything Chu Xiao Bai described would be what she wanted, but the situation was different now. Her heart was already given to Mo Chuan, so wherever he was, she would be there. His world was her world. Mo Chuan, Mo Chuan. She called out his name in a low voice. Her arms slowly wrapped around his waist, tightly hugging him. Ninger, you can move. His body slightly trembled as he was filled with surprise and joy. Chapter 553. Mo Chuan, how did you find me? She looked up at him from his embrace. Although her tongue was still a bit numb, she could already speak clearly. Her hands and feet were soft, but they were still a bit stiff. With Zhou Feng here, no matter where you go, I can find you. Even if you run to the ends of the earth, I will definitely find you. He said in a soft voice, but it was filled with power. It was like a vow that made her heart heat up. But I'm afraid you'll think I'm dead. I'm afraid you won't come to find me, she said in a low voice. Her nose felt sour as she buried her face in his chest. Silly girl, you won't die. I understand Xiao Bai better than you. He definitely won't harm you. So, I know that he must have taken you away, so I chased you through the night. He stroked her black hair and said with a faint smile. Although his voice was calm, she did not know that when he first heard this news, it was like a bolt out of the blue, completely shocking him. At that time, the royal palace was holding a banquet to entertain the East Qin envoys. The banquet was filled with laughter, and the atmosphere was solemn and warm. Empress Dowager Zhou also rarely attended the banquet. She was smiling at him the entire time, sitting beside him and lovingly patting his hand from time to time. At this time, he received a secret report from his secret guards, and his expression suddenly changed. This one is not feeling well. Everyone, please enjoy yourselves. After he said this, he left the banquet without any hesitation. He did not see Empress Dowager Zhou's ugly expression and shock at all. Emperor, stop! Empress Dowager Zhou snapped from behind him, but he turned a deaf ear to her. This was probably the first time he had disobeyed Empress Dowager Zhou's orders. He quickly changed out of his golden dragon robe and quickly rode out of the capital city, following the trail Zhou Feng left behind. Although he believed that Chu Xiao Bai would not harm her, when he heard the news of her death, his heart shattered. No one knew how much pain he felt. There was only one thought in his mind at that time, which was to find her. He had to find her no matter what. He had to see her alive. He had to see her dead. He did not dare think about it. He knew that she wasn't dead. She definitely wasn't dead. Now, he could finally hug her again, feeling her soft and fragrant body in his embrace. The joy of regaining what he had lost flooded him. His heart was filled with warmth and satisfaction. As long as he had her, he could give up anything. The two of them tightly hugged each other. There had never been a moment where their hearts were this close. Jue Feng stopped the carriage. The carriage came to a stop. Mo Chuan jumped off the carriage and caught her. He held her hand and walked up the hill to the side. A forest of pear blossoms bloomed on the hillside. The pear blossoms bloomed beautifully under the moonlight. Mo Chuan, where are we going? Jue, Mo, and J. Mo Chuan. Under a blooming tree. She leaned against it and raised her head to look at him. The starlight in the sky gathered in her eyes, and her gaze was intoxicated. Under the moonlight, his exquisite side profile was flawless. He slowly lowered his head and leaned forward to kiss her lips. Under the moonlight, his face. Under the same, and. Chapter 554. This scene, it was as beautiful as a painting. Jue Feng, who was waiting at the foot of the mountain, glanced over and couldn't help being stunned. He had never understood love, and he had never understood entanglement. But at this moment, he felt a stirring sensation in his heart. His stone-like heart also began to stir. If he could hug a girl like this under the moonlight in the flower forest, what kind of intoxicating taste would that be? He couldn't help letting his imagination run wild. He seemed to be thinking too much. His face turned red as he looked away. His pupils suddenly shrank as he looked not far away in a daze. There was a tall and slender pine tree there. Under the tree, there was a person standing motionlessly. His clothes were as white as frost. The wind blew the corner of his robe, making it look like a white butterfly. It was very eye-catching in the night. That was Chu Xiaobai. When he appeared and when he chased after them, Jue Feng did not notice it at all. Jue Feng suddenly broke out in a cold sweat. He looked at Chu Xiaobai and his lips moved, but he found that Chu Xiaobai was not looking at him at all. His eyes were looking at the two people tightly hugging and kissing under the tree on the hillside. The two of them had their eyes closed and were immersed in each other's aura, forgetting themselves. The moonlight was like a white veil, adding a faint silver to their beautiful faces. Chu Xiaobai silently watched. He did not know how long he watched for, but he saw the two people tightly hugging each other finally separate. He saw him raise his hand to caress her rosy lips and softly say 3 words. "You are really sweet." The voice was soft and it was far away, but Chu Xiaobai could hear it, and he could hear it very clearly. Then he saw her smile. Her smile was very beautiful under the moonlight. She stood on her tiptoes and wrapped her arms around his neck. He thought she was going to kiss him, but she unexpectedly bit his ear. His face turned slightly red, and he pretended to scare her. Her laughter rang out like a silver bell. Chu Xiaobai's eyes unknowingly became covered in a layer of mist. He was tightly holding a wooden snow lotus hairpin that he had personally carved for her. This hairpin had always been in her hair, but she didn't even know when she had lost it. His heart was filled with mixed feelings, and his chest was filled with pain. There was a fire burning inside, burning his entire body and burning him to the point of suffocating. He understood everything, but it seemed like he understood it a bit too late. That black clothes guard, that bastard Xiaohei, he was not someone else. He was his blood-related uncle. He was the current West Shu emperor. What should he do? His mind was a wasteland. Weeds were growing, wildfires were burning, until he felt a dull pain in his palm. He lowered his head and discovered that his palm had become a bloody mess. That coarse wooden hairpin had hurt his hand. Was it painful? Compared to the wound on his chest, the pain on his palm was nothing. King Jing and Jue Feng called him several times, but Chu Xiaobai did not hear him at all. In his eyes and ears, there was only the person under the pear blossom tree. Other than her, he could not hear anything else. Jue Feng couldn't help shaking his head. He tore off a piece of cloth and walked in front of Chu Xiaobai, preparing to bandage the wound on his hand. Chapter 555. Chu Xiaobai quietly stood under the tree, not moving at all. If it wasn't for him smelling the faint scent of blood in the air, he would not have noticed that Chu Xiaobai was injured. And the thing that injured him was actually an unremarkable piece of broken wood. What kind of broken thing is this? Zhou Feng took the wooden hairpin from Chu Xiaobai's hand and looked at it without a care, preparing to throw it away. Chu Xiaobai suddenly reached out and grabbed it, firmly holding it in his hand. His eyes were like ice as he stared at him. What are you doing? This subordinate wants to help you bandage your wound. Zhou Feng was stunned and stuttered out. No need, Chu Xiaobai coldly said. After he said this word, he looked away and stared at the person in the flower forest in a daze. Zhou Feng was truly worried for him. He felt that if King Jing wasn't crazy, then he was a fool. If it was him, seeing his beloved girl being intimate with another man, he would not have been able to endure it. He would have already charged forward and asked if he wanted to kill him or her. But what about King Jing'an? He was clearly feeling very uncomfortable, but he did not leave. He just stared at her like this. Wasn't he just looking to be abused? Zhou Feng began to feel uncomfortable for him. Although he was loyal to Mo Chuan, he had formed a deep brotherhood with Chu Xiaobai over the years, especially after the two of them went through life and death together a few days ago. Seeing Chu Xiaobai like this, he couldn't bear it. King Jing'an, he called out to him again. Chu Xiaobai still did not hear him. This was because he saw that the two people under the flower tree were no longer smiling. They were deeply looking at each other. Chu Xiaobai had never seen this kind of focus in her eyes, this kind of deep affection. She was using this kind of deep and focused gaze to look at the man in front of her. It turned out that when a person loved another deeply, her eyes would betray her heart. He had used this kind of gaze to look at her before, but she had never used this kind of gaze to look at him before. Chu Xiaobai's heart slowly turned to ice. Zhou Feng, who was standing beside him, suddenly gave a shiver, feeling an inexplicable chill. He shrank his neck and muttered, "Where did the wind come from?" Turning around, he looked at Chu Xiaobai. Although the other side was not moving, the more he was like this, the more uncomfortable he felt for Chu Xiaobai. King Jing'an, stop looking. The wind is strong here. Let's go. I'm not leaving. Against his expectations, Chu Xiaobai actually spoke. Zhou Feng was stunned and then said, King Jing'an, please forgive this subordinate for advising you. Staying here will only make you feel uncomfortable. Is there a need to do this? There are plenty of fish in this world. Why do you have to be like this? There are plenty of flowers in this world. Why do you have to be so attached? Chu Xiaobai's eyes were still on Chunning's face, not looking away at all. His voice was very calm, and his eyes were as clear as usual. I'm not uncomfortable. I'm very happy. Who would he be moving? Shut. The moonlight was like silver as it shined through the pine branches. He could clearly see the faint tears in Chu Xiaobai's eyes. You're already crying, but you still say you're not feeling bad and are very happy. Do you think Zhou Feng is blind? He crying of happy. Chapter 556. The sound of the wind blowing through the trees let out a sobbing sound. I've always been worried that she wouldn't be happy, so I wanted to give all of this to her. Now that I see that she has it all, what else can I ask for? Although the one who makes her happy isn't me, it doesn't matter. As long as she's happy, it's fine. Chu Xiaobai suddenly spoke. His voice was very soft, like he was telling Zhou Feng or himself. Zhou Feng couldn't help digging his ears. He carefully observed Chu Xiaobai's expression and asked, You're not angry, not jealous, and not angry? He did not see any of these expressions on Chu Xiaobai's face. This was not normal. Chu Xiaobai revealed a faint smile. I like her, but I don't want to have her. If she isn't happy with me, I will be sad. I hope to see her smile more often. As for who she likes, that is not important. As long as she's happy, it's fine. He revealed a bright smile, saying words from the bottom of his heart. There was a kind of love that was as silent as a mountain, not asking for anything in return. He didn't understand it before, but now he understood. He loved her, and she didn't love him. He really didn't care. He would treat her the same as before, placing her in the deepest and most important place in his heart to love her. Zhu Feng was stunned. He shook his head and felt like he was confused by Chu Xiaobai. He could not understand Chu Xiaobai's thoughts. If his beloved girl was with another man, he would take her back no matter what. He did not want to be as useless as King Jing'an. Don't tell him I came. Chu Xiaobai took a deep breath and looked at her under the moonlight again. Her brows were filled with a smile, and he had never seen her this beautiful before. It was like the most beautiful pear flower blooming under the moonlight. Although her smile was not for him, he had deeply engraved this beautiful smile in his mind, never forgetting it. Turning around, his clothes fluttered as he left. He only left behind a single sentence. What he took away was the snow lotus hairpin that he had personally carved for her. Only when he turned around, a drop of crystal clear tear fell from the corner of his eye. It slid down his clothes and fell to the ground. Mo Chuan suddenly left, abandoning all the guests. Empress Dowager Zhou felt that this matter was not good. In fact, she had received the news before Mo Chuan did. When she found out that her greatest trouble had been taken care of, she let out a long sigh of relief and came to the banquet tonight in high spirits. Although she thought of Chun Ning's talent, she felt a bit of regret in her heart. She felt that it was a bit unfair to this girl. But who told her to provoke the emperor out of everyone? She would order people to give her a grand funeral, which would be the best compensation for her. At the banquet, she was very kind to Mo Chuan. She hoped that Mo Chuan would learn this news as late as possible. She also hoped that after her son learned of this, he wouldn't do anything too ridiculous. She never thought that the news she tried so hard to hide would still reach Mo Chuan's ears. She knew that there was only one reason why the emperor would abandon everything and leave the royal palace. The emperor out a sigh and said, of. She stayed behind with a smile on her face, comforting the ministers and the East Qin envoy. She was graceful and her words were appropriate, fully displaying the dignity and grace of an Empress Dowager. But after the banquet, before she even arrived at the Peaceful Life Palace, the smile on her face disappeared. Her lips turned into a line and her face turned livid. Where's the emperor? Chapter 557. Su Jin had never seen Empress Dowager Zhou with such a serious expression before, and her heart was filled with anxiety. She did not know about Empress Dowager Zhou's orders, but she could faintly feel that something big was about to happen. He left the city? Humph! So what if he arrives? It's already too late. It's fine. It's better if he sees it with his own eyes. Empress Dowager Zhou stared at the palace in the distance for a while before finally looking away. She rubbed her aching forehead and decided to go back to the palace to sleep first. Su Jin did not understand Empress Dowager Zhou's words. She helped Empress Dowager Zhou sleep, kneeling by the bed and massaging Empress Dowager Zhou's forehead. Empress Dowager Zhou tossed and turned for most of the night. When the sun was about to rise, she finally fell asleep in a daze. Su Jin quietly stood up and rubbed her numb knees. Then she quietly left Empress Dowager Zhou's room. She had been tired for a day and night, so she prepared to return to her room to sleep. But when she left the room, she suddenly saw 2 more people in the yard, and she almost screamed out in fright. Emperor, Princess Consort, why are you here? She calmed herself down and recognized them, covering her mouth as she spoke in a small voice. You can leave. Mo Chuan held Chun Ning's hand. He did not look at Su Jin and just stared at Empress Dowager Zhou's window. It was dark inside, so Empress Dowager Zhou should already be asleep. Su Jin did not dare stay. She bowed to him and silently returned to her room. Mo Chuan, the Empress Dowager is already asleep. How about we leave first and don't disturb the Empress Dowager's sleep? Chun Ning bit her lips, and her expression was a bit uneasy. After he brought her back to the capital, he immediately entered the palace and rushed to the Peaceful Life Palace. Even she did not understand what he wanted to do or what he wanted. Was he here to ask why Empress Dowager Zhou gave the order to kill her? But she understood Empress Dowager Zhou and understood a mother's love for her son, so she did not blame Empress Dowager Zhou. She did not want the mother and son to fall out because of her. No, I'm not leaving. I want to wait here for Mother to wake up. Mo Chuan held her hand with a firm gaze. Then he faced Empress Dowager Zhou's room and kneeled down. His back was straight. Although he was kneeling, he gave off a feeling of being a mountain. Mo Chuan, what are you doing? Mo Chuan remained silent. He had already made up his mind that he had to be with her no matter what. She was someone he doted on the most. He couldn't even bear to harm a single finger of hers. But Empress Dowager Zhou actually ordered people to take her life. Therefore, he must let his mother know that his people were not to be touched. Chen Ning looked at his expression without blinking. She understood his thoughts and gently and firmly knelt down beside him. Ning, this is not related to Bai. Ning, Dowager, Dao Ning looked at Jean. You disobeyed the Empress Dowager for me. How can you say it has nothing to do with me? Ning is, Emperor Yun Dowager said. She said, you is not. Long Shi Ning said, Dowager Dowagerly said. She, Dao Shi I. Ning. Yun, A. Chapter 558. Her lips were soft and cool, but it instantly ignited a flame in his body. He worked hard to control the flames in his body as he gently kissed her lips, not daring to go any deeper. He opened his eyes and stared at her beautiful face. Her long eyelashes were thick and curled up, gently trembling. Because of his kiss, her breathing became hurried and a faint layer of shyness appeared on her face. At this time, the sky was bright. The eunuchs and maids of the Peaceful Life Palace had already gotten up and were cleaning the courtyard. There was the sound of footsteps coming from all around. Someone was coming. Chen Ning's face turned red, and she wanted to push him away, but he grabbed her chin without letting go. His hand was tightly wrapped around her waist as he slightly lowered his head and moved his lips over hers. God, did their eyes go bad? Was she dreaming? There were sounds of cold breaths being sucked in from all around. When the eunuchs and maids saw this scene in the courtyard, their jaws fell and their eyes fell to the ground. They all knew Chen Ning, knowing that she was King Ding Yuan's princess and that she had lived in the Empress Dowager's palace for a few days. They all knew the emperor. But what did they see? The emperor is actually publicly intimate with King Ding Yuan's princess. Each one of them received a 10,000 critical hit. But very quickly, they realized that they had seen something they shouldn't have seen. This was a matter of losing their heads. The maids and eunuchs all looked down, not daring to breathe too loudly. It was like their butts were on fire as they disappeared in the blink of an eye. Empress Dowager Zhou was a light sleeper. She took a nap and slightly opened her eyes. Seeing the white light from the window, she knew that it was morning. She thought of her troublesome son. After all, mother and son were connected, so she couldn't sleep anymore. Someone come. She called out, preparing to call someone in to help her wash up. She wanted to see if the emperor had returned or not. Who would have thought that when she called out twice, the courtyard outside would still be silent, without a single movement? Empress Dowager Zhou couldn't help feeling angry. Were all the people serving her dead? She came down from a bed and opened the window. When she was prepared to call out, her body suddenly trembled and she almost couldn't stand straight. She quickly held onto the window frame. Under the early morning sunlight, there were two figures kneeling in the courtyard in front of her door. The man's black hair was covered in a layer of golden light. He had his head lowered and was wholeheartedly kissing the girl in his embrace. Empress Dowager Zhou couldn't help rubbing her eyes. When she was sure that she wasn't dreaming, she was instantly filled with rage. They were simply provoking her on purpose, demonstrating their strength. No wonder she couldn't summon any palace maids to serve her. Everyone who saw this scene had already hidden far away. Who would dare to come? No wonder she couldn't call out the maids. It was on purpose, coming to her courtyard early in the morning to put on this show. It was obvious that he wanted to make their affair known to the public and let the whole world know about it. It wouldn't be long before she couldn't hide the scandal of the imperial family anymore. She couldn't. Emperor Mo Chuan finally slowly looked up at Empress Dowager Zhou, kneeling on the ground without moving. Mother, your son is here to ask for your forgiveness. Empress Dowager Zhou's forehead began to throb with pain. She wished she could take her dragon head cane and beat the man and woman in front of her to death. Chapter 559. If mother doesn't forgive your son will kneel here and not get up. Mo Chuan tightly held Chen Ning's hand. He raised his chin and spoke in a calm voice. Forgive? Forgive him for being in her courtyard early in the morning, being intimate with his niece's wife in front of all the eunuchs and maids? Empress Dowager Zhou gave an angry laugh. She pointed at Mo Chuan and said, "All right, Emperor, this widow has really given birth to a good son. You've actually learned to disobey this widow now." Mo Chuan's eyes darkened, but he instantly looked up and said, "Your son does not dare disobey mother, but has mother ever thought about your son? You sent people to kill your son's most beloved person. Have you never thought that your son's heart would be hurt? If mother cannot tolerate her, then your son would not dare disobey mother's will. Your son has brought the person to mother. As long as mother says a single word, your son will personally kill her." Empress Dowager Zhou almost did not believe her ears. She stared at Mo Chuan. "Emperor, a ruler does not lie. You will personally kill her?" Mo Chuan nodded and took out a dagger from his chest. The blade reflected the sunlight, shining like snow. "Very good. Then you can kill her." Empress Dowager Zhou gave a cold laugh. "Your son will obey mother's orders." Mo Chuan calmly kowtowed to Empress Dowager Zhou. "Your son is not willing to be a disloyal and unfilial person, but your son cannot be a heartless person. Since it is hard to satisfy both sides, the only thing your son can do is to kill your son." He raised the dagger, and, with a flash of white light, the dagger was already stabbed into his chest. His chest was instantly dyed red with blood. "Chuana!" Empress Dowager Zhou was incomparably shocked. She gave a loud shout and charged out of the room. Mo Chuan's face was even whiter than snow. The dagger was deeply stabbed into his chest, but he still knelt down. His deep black eyes looked at Empress Dowager Zhou. He let go of the dagger and used his blood-red hand to reach out to Empress Dowager Zhou. He supported Empress Dowager Zhou's swaying body. "Doctor, quickly call the doctor." Empress Dowager Zhou's voice trembled. She looked down at Mo Chuan and tears fell from her eyes. "Chuan, she's just a woman. What kind of woman can't you have in this world? You actually don't want your life for her? Why are you so stupid?" She was angry and hurt. Mo Chuan gave a soft cough and blood leaked out from the corner of his mouth. "Mother, if I can't be with the person I love the most in this life, this minister would rather not have this life. You. Empress Dowager Zhou's lips moved, but her eyes suddenly turned black and she fainted. Empress Dowager Mother. Mo Chuan quickly caught Empress Dowager Zhou and lifted her up, quickly running into the room. He placed Empress Dowager Zhou on the bed and checked her breathing. He found that her breathing was normal, so she must have fainted from being too emotional. However, he was still worried and loudly ordered, "Someone, summon the imperial physician." The palace attendants of Peaceful Life Palace were in chaos. Quickly go to the doctor yard to find Dr. Zhang. When Su Jin, who was still in a daze, heard this, she immediately woke up from her dream in fright. She didn't even have time to put on her shoes as she ran to Empress Dowager Zhou's room. She immediately saw Empress Dowager Zhou lying on the bed with her eyes closed. Chapter 560. Su Jin gave a shocked cry before seeing Mo Chuan with a dagger in his chest, standing in front of Empress Dowager Zhou's bed with his chest covered in blood. She was so scared that she gave a sob and almost fainted. Chen Ning quickly took a step forward and supported her. She said to Mo Chuan, "Mo Chuan, this joke has gone too far. The Empress Dowager has fainted from fright, and you've even scared Aunt Su Jin." She turned to look at Su Jin. "Aunt Su Jin, don't be afraid. This is fake. The Emperor is fine." Su Jin stared at the dagger in Mo Chuan's chest and said in a trembling voice, "Fake? What fake? Emperor, Emperor, why are you? Why is it like this?" Her voice was filled with surprise. This was because she saw Mo Chuan grab the dagger and pull it out, causing her to give a loud cry. But then she found that the dagger did not have a blade and only had a handle. Her eyes instantly popped out, and her face was filled with disbelief. This. She stuttered. "This dagger is fake. There is a button on the handle, and with a gentle press, the blade will pop out. With another gentle press, the blade will retract into the handle. So it looks like he has been stabbed, but the Emperor is not injured at all." Chen Ning explained in a low voice. This dagger was the one Chu Xiao used to scare her. The blade was hollow, and there was a blood sac hidden inside. When the blade was pulled back, the blood sac would burst open, looking no different from being stabbed by a sword. Only the person in question would know what was inside. She didn't know where Chu Xiao found this strange thing. Even she had to admit that this effect was very realistic. If she didn't know there was a dagger like this, she would have also believed it. Su Jin was still in shock. She looked at Mo Chuan and then at Empress Dowager Zhou, her head filled with fog. "Aunt Su Jin, the Emperor has something to say to the Empress Dowager, so we should leave first." Chen Ning saw Empress Dowager Zhou's eyelids slightly move, which was a sign that she was about to wake up. She pulled Su Jin's sleeve and quietly left with her. Before leaving, she also looked at Mo Chuan. Mo Chuan gave her a slight nod. Empress Dowager Zhou slowly woke up. When she opened her eyes, she saw Mo Chuan. Her body trembled, and she said in a trembling voice, "Chuaner, did we meet in the underworld? Mother, please forgive your son for deceiving you." Mo Chuan slowly kneeled down in front of her bed. "What crime of lying?" Mo Chuan raised the dagger with both hands and held it in front of Empress Dowager Zhou. There was still blood on the blade, and when Empress Dowager Zhou saw this, her heart filled with pain. "Please forgive me, Imperial Mother. I used this dagger to play a joke on Imperial Mother." Mo Chuan gently pressed down on the hilt, and the sharp edge of the sword was pulled back. He pressed down again, and with a schwa sound, the blade popped out with a cold glow. Empress Dowager Zhou didn't need him to say another word to understand what had just happened. She was filled with anger as she stared at Mo Chuan. She suddenly raised her hand and with a pa sound, slapped him across the face. "Emperor, how dare you make fun of me?" There were 5 red finger marks on Mo Bai's face, but he didn't even blink as he looked right at Empress Dowager Zhou. Chapter 561. Empress Dowager Zhou's face turned white from anger. She angrily said, "Emperor, are you threatening this widow? Your son does not dare threaten Mother." "You don't dare? Why did you put on that play just now? You still dare say you didn't threaten me with death?" Mo Chuan knelt in front of the bed. He held Empress Dowager Zhou's hand and looked up to say, "Mother, seeing your son commit suicide, does your heart ache? Your son knows that your heart must be filled with pain. Do you know that? When your son learned that you sent people to assassinate Ning, your son's heart was filled with pain, just like yours. Mother, your son is your own flesh and blood. Seeing your son's heart ache, does your heart feel good? Why can't you let us go and help us?" Empress Dowager Zhou forcefully pulled back her hand and angrily said, "I'll help you. You want this widow to help you become a joke? A scandal. Emperor, if you continue to be so obstinate, then you might as well die just now." Mo Chuan's eyes turned dark, and he said in a low voice, "Mother, do you really want your son to die?" He pressed down on the mechanism of the dagger and stopped the blade from bouncing back. He slowly raised it up and placed it at his throat. "Put down the dagger." Empress Dowager Zhou was angry and anxious as she tried to grab the dagger in his hand. Her eyes turned red and tears began to fall. This widow was just saying it out of anger, and you treated it seriously. Emperor, have you ever understood this widow's heart as a mother? She was so angry that she kept coughing and almost couldn't breathe. But when has Mother ever understood your son's heart? Mo Chuan said in a hoarse voice. Could it be that the country, the safety of the country, your throne, the West Chu citizens, and this widow are all not as important as that woman. Mother, if your son doesn't want to be the emperor, there will definitely be someone else. But the world is big, and your son only wants to be with her for the rest of his life. If mother wants your son to choose, your son would rather not be the emperor. I ask mother to choose another wise ruler. Mo Chuan took out a seal from his chest and presented it with both hands. This seal was the West Chu country's jade seal. Empress Dowager Zhou's body trembled as she stared at Mo Chuan. Emperor! She was anxious and angry, and her head began to hurt again because she knew her son. Although he was filial and had never disobeyed her words, his personality was one that would rather break than bend. Once he decided on something, he would definitely do it to the end. He didn't even want the throne anymore. It looked like he had made up his mind to be together with that lass with the surname Shan. What should she do? What should she do? She rested her forehead on her hand, leaned on the couch behind her, and closed her eyes. Your Majesty, even if I spare the girl's life, can you stop the mouths of the people in the world? Mo Chuan was instantly filled with joy. He knew that Empress Dowager Zhou had finally relented. Chin Dowager Chin's heart. Dowager Chun, your idea is just to send down a decree to separate King Ding Yuan and his princess. Do you think it's that easy? You know better than this widow what kind of person Chu Xiaoyang is. If he doesn't want it, he will throw it away. If it was the Chu Xiaoyang of the past, this decree would have been something he wished for, but now he already sees that girl Chun as his eyeball. You want to gouge out his eyeball, so how could he let this go? Chapter 562. She knew that if she forced her son would very likely leave the throne and take his beloved girl to the ends of the earth. At that time, she would lose everything. Without her son, she would have nothing. So she had to compromise for now and help her son plan. Then, does mother have any good ideas? Mo Chuan was silent for a bit. He knew that Empress Dowager Zhou was speaking the truth, but he couldn't care about Chu Xiaoyang right now. He had to fight for Empress Dowager Zhou's approval first, and as long as Empress Dowager Zhou agreed, he would slowly think of a way to solve the problems in the future. You're the emperor if you don't have any ideas. Then what can this widow do? No. Empress Dowager Zhou rolled her eyes at him and said in a snappy voice, Since it's like this, then mother should have a good rest. Your son will leave first. The East Qin envoys were very aggressive at the banquet yesterday, so your son will find the ministers to discuss how to deal with them. Mo Chuan also knew how to prioritize things. He, in Chunning's matter, was not urgent. The most important thing right now was to solve the East Qin tribute. This was a matter that couldn't be delayed. All right, you can go. Empress Dowager Zhou waved her hand, feeling a bit comforted in her heart. No matter what was said, this son of hers did not ignore politics for his own sake. Wait a minute. She thought about it and then called out to Mo Chuan, Leave that girl behind for this widow. Before the East Qin matter is solved, this widow will personally take care of her. This won't do. Mo Chuan refused without even thinking. Why not? Are you afraid this widow will make a move on that girl? Since this widow has promised you, I will keep my word. This widow will not make a move on her. Otherwise, isn't this widow afraid of losing a son like you? Empress Dowager Zhou revealed a faint bitter smile. How could she not know that leaving Chunning by her side was equal to leaving a hot potato? But she had to leave her. The scene she saw this morning had given her a large shock. The emperor had never been close to women, but in front of everyone and in broad daylight, he did something that made her blush. Would she still dare to leave that girl by the emperor's side? Young men and women, when they were in love, it was like dry wood meeting fire. What else couldn't they do? She definitely would not allow this kind of thing to happen in front of her. Mo Chuan thought about it and already guessed Empress Dowager Zhou's meaning, but he still shook his head. No. Empress Dowager Zhou's eyes instantly turned sharp and her voice became sharp. Have you already? I didn't. Mo Chuan said with a serious expression. Before I formally marry her, your son will not do anything improper. Please be assured, mother. Rest assured? It would be strange if he could be at ease. Empress Dowager Zhou gave a heavy snort. Then what are you going to do with her? You want to keep her in the palace, by your side like a little fan pendant? Aren't you afraid this matter will reach King Ding Yuan's ears, and he will come looking for you? She said in a voice filled with ridicule. Mo Chuan had already thought of this, and he confidently said, your son will send her to live in Li's palace. Once the East Qin matter is over, I will think of a way to restore her freedom. Like this, mother can be assured, right? Empress Dowager Zhou gave another snort and no longer raised any objections. Staying in the princess royal residence was better than staying in the imperial palace. If he stayed in her peaceful life palace, Chu Xiaoyang might come to the palace every few days to find her. This would be a headache for her. Chapter 563. Empress Dowager Zhou knew that Chu Xiaoyang and eldest princess and Lu were very close, and their relationship was very good. If there was someone in this world that could control Chu Xiaoyang, it would be eldest princess and Lu. No matter how bold Chu Xiaoyang was, he wouldn't go too far in the eldest princess palace. She closed her eyes and no longer said anything. When Mo Chuan saw this, he knew that Empress Dowager Zhou had silently agreed with him, so he left. After he left, Empress Dowager Zhou slowly opened her eyes and let out a long sigh. Her heart was in chaos. The emperor had caused such a large matter, and he could ignore it, but as the Empress Dowager, she couldn't ignore it. She had to help her emperor's son clean up the mess he had made, and help him clean up his mess. Young, the emperor was still too young, too impulsive. Sigh. When would he truly grow up? When would she be able to place the heavy burden of the West Chu country on the emperor's shoulders? Empress Dowager Zhou clapped her hands and called Su Jin over. She whispered a few words into her ear. This matter that could shock the entire country. Under Empress Dowager Zhou's gentle arrangements, it became silent like this, and no one heard of it. Other than a few people who knew, no one else knew what happened that night. Only this matter could be hidden from others, but it couldn't be hidden from the eldest princess. When Shen Ning returned to the eldest princess palace, the eldest princess excitedly came forward. She grabbed her hand and excitedly asked her, I heard that my royal brother eloped with you last night. She didn't know whether to laugh or cry. She bit her lips and said, where did the eldest princess hear this rumor? Could not be true? Of course not. All right. That brat Ting Xian actually dared to lie to this princess. Watch how this princess takes care of him. The eldest princess instantly raised her brows. Chen Ning broke into a laugh. Husband Yi told the eldest princess? Where did Prince Consort Yi get this news from? She didn't expect that this matter would be spread so widely that it became like this. This princess doesn't know where he heard this news from, but since you say it's not true, it's definitely not true. This princess believes your words. The eldest princess said with a sigh, last night at the palace banquet, I saw royal brother's expression suddenly change, and he left, leaving behind the East Qin envoys and ministers. Moreover, he didn't come back after leaving, so I thought he brought you away. Other than you, this princess doesn't know what else could make my royal brother act like this. Chen Ning's heart was moved as she asked, was the palace banquet last night important? When she left the palace, Missouri Chuan had only sent Zhue Feng to escort her to the eldest princess palace. After giving some instructions, he went to the royal study. She knew that something important must have happened to the country. She had already found that this matter was very troublesome and Mo Chuan Xian. Although Mo Chuan had covered Chuan's Tian, he was Mo Chuan down Mo, is Xian Xiao, he said. Dong Ling Chuan Chun Chun Chun, Hu Chun Princess Chuan Chun, Dao Xian Ting Xiao Xian. Mo, Chen Yin Ling did Mo. Hearing the eldest princess mention it, her heart skipped a beat, and she took the chance to ask. Chapter 564. When this matter was mentioned, the eldest princess' face sunk, and she was filled with anger. East Qin envoys? This was not the first time Chen Ning had heard this name. Chu Xiaobai had mentioned it before, but she had never taken it to heart. Seeing the eldest princess' angry appearance, she took it to heart. She searched the memories of the original owner, and only vaguely knew that other than the West Chu country, there were 3 other countries in the era she had transmigrated into, of which the East Qin country was the strongest. But what did this have to do with the West Chu country? She comforted the eldest princess while asking the eldest princess about the details of this matter. When the eldest princess mentioned the past, she was filled with righteous indignation and kept on talking. She held her hand and talked for 2 hours. This matter happened 12 years ago before Mo Chuan had ascended to the throne. At that time, East Qin and West Chu were evenly matched, being the 2 strongest countries. Eastli was eyeing West Chu, and West Chu did not have any good intentions towards East Qin. The war between the 2 countries was on the verge of breaking out. The West Chu emperor of the past was very ambitious, wanting to swallow East Qin and dominate the world. In order to achieve his ambitions, he personally led his troops to attack East Qin. But he never thought that in the most important battle of White Water Pass, the West Chu soldiers he led would suffer a crushing defeat. Not only was his army annihilated, even the West Chu emperor was captured by the East Qin country, becoming a prisoner of the East Qin country. The emperor was captured, and the West Chu country was in danger. The country could be destroyed at any moment, and the citizens would lose their homes. They would become a vassal country of East Qin and fall into deep water. The ministers had no leader, and the West Chu country could not be without a ruler for a single day. It was Empress Dowager Zhou who came forward in this critical moment. She led the civil and military officials to help the late emperor's cousin Mo Chuan ascend the throne, placing this heavy responsibility on her son who was only in his teens. It had to be said that Empress Dowager Zhou was a great woman with great foresight. She insisted on helping her own son ascend the throne not because of wealth, but rather to stabilize the morale of the West Chu country's army and citizens. Chu Xiaoyang was still young at that time, and adding in the fact that he was the late emperor's son, if he became the emperor, East Qin could use the late emperor's life to threaten West Chu. This was also one of the reasons why the ministers opposed Chu Xiaoyang ascending the throne. With the new emperor ascending the throne, the people of West Chu calmed down. Following that, Empress Dowager Zhou gave an important task to Chen Ning's father, Great General Chen. She sent him to lead his elite troops to face the East Qin army. Great General Chen won against many with a few, making a beautiful comeback in the Battle of Whitewater Pass. His momentum was like a rainbow, forcing the East Qin army to the border in a single breath. When Great General Chen was prepared to continue advancing and attack East Qin's territory, saving the previous emperor, there was a sudden change. While the 2 armies were facing off, the East Qin country suddenly brought the West Chu emperor to the front. They wanted the West Chu country to retreat, not leaving a single soldier behind. Otherwise, if they left 1 person behind, they would cut off the emperor's hand. If they left 2 people behind, they would cut off the emperor's legs. Although Great General Chen was following Empress Dowager Zhou's orders, he was still loyal to the previous emperor. How could he let the previous emperor have his hands and feet cut off and lose his life in front of him? He retreated without hesitation. Chapter 565. Great General Chen did not dare make a decision on his own, so he quickly sent people to the capital to report to Empress Dowager Zhou and the new emperor. Empress Dowager Zhou gathered the ministers to discuss this matter. The ministers all had different opinions, with some advocating war and some advocating peace. In the end, it was Empress Dowager Zhou who made the decision to agree to the East Qin country's unreasonable request and pay tribute to West Chu every year. She couldn't just watch the previous emperor die, and she couldn't let everyone say that she had selfish motives in helping Mo Chuan ascend to the throne. Only like this, the burden on the West Chu country increased. The yearly tribute used up most of the West Chu country's national power, causing West Chu to decline year by year, becoming weaker and weaker. The East Qin country had a handle on West Chu, so the envoys that came to collect the tribute became more and more arrogant. This year, it became even worse. The envoys they sent actually proposed that they would compete with the West Chu country in 3 rounds. If West Chu lost, they would have to double the tribute. This could not be tolerated. Ever since Mo Chuan ascended to the throne, he had managed the entire country in an orderly manner. The citizens had finally escaped from the pain of war and were able to eat their fill and wear warm clothes. In order to deal with the large amount of tribute from the East Qin country each year, he would rather reduce the expenditures of the palace than increase the taxes of the citizens. He could be considered a good emperor that loved his citizens. But even like this, the West Chu country's national power was gradually weakened. It was a good thing that there was great General Chun guarding the border. In the Battle of Whitewater Pass, he was filled with divine might, killing all the East Qin soldiers. East Qin had not dared to invade West Chu all these years because of the great General Chen's fame. After Chen Ning heard the eldest princess story, she couldn't help letting out a long sigh. She understood the cause and effect. She felt even more pain for Mo Chuan. Thinking of when she was in her teens, she lived a carefree youth. As for Mo Chuan, he had to shoulder the heavy responsibility of the country at such a young age. No wonder he said he had never heard or told stories before. It was because he did not have a childhood or youth at all. As an emperor, he was not glorious at all. Rather, he was filled with shame. That was why he was a man of few words and endured humiliation. When she first met him, he was a man of few words. Only when he gradually opened his heart to her did a smile appear on his face. But she could still feel the melancholy between his brows. There was something in his heart that he could not even say to her. Now she finally understood. But the more she understood, the more her heart ached for Mo Chuan. Eldest Princess, what are the 3 questions of the East Qin country? Could it be that our West Chu can't beat their East Qin? Sigh, Brother Emperor is having a headache over this matter. Last night at the palace banquet, the envoy did mention the first test. It was called reading steals while riding a horse or something. I've never heard of reading steals while riding a horse. This princess asked the envoy what the 3 was the 3 words. The envoy sneered and said, if your country doesn't even know how to read steals from horseback, then there's no need for this competition. Just admit defeat. When the eldest princess said this, her eyebrows furrowed in anger. She pulled out the sword at her waist and waved it twice in the air. Chapter 566. Then what happened after that? Mo Chuan, how did the emperor respond? Chen Ning asked. My royal brother immediately agreed. Although his expression did not change, this princess could see that he did not know what this steel reading on horseback was. Afterwards, his expression suddenly changed and he left, never coming back. After he left, the East Qin envoy's words became even uglier. He said that my royal brother was afraid and was a coward. This princess was so angry that she wanted to cut off his head, but mother stopped me and didn't allow me to say another word. When Chen Ning heard this, she began to ponder. Didn't she know what the East Qin envoy was talking about? Was it the steel reading on horseback that she knew about? Since it is a competition and the topic was set by their East Qin, then the envoy should clearly explain the topic. Otherwise, wouldn't this competition be them purposely making things difficult for us? She said, that's right, that's right. Mother also asked the envoy this, and after the envoy heard it, he unwillingly said it. So this steel reading on horseback is a steel with words carved on it. 2 people will ride their horses and run in front of the steel at the same time. When they reach the finish line, both sides will recite the words on the steel, and whoever remembers the most words on the steel will win. So it was like this. It really was the same as what she thought. Chen Ning secretly nodded her head. The eldest princess said with an indignant expression, do you think the East Qin envoy is purposely making things difficult for us? Reading the steel while riding on horseback, how could we remember the words on the steel? How fast are the horses? We humans only have a pair of eyes, so with just a glance, what can we remember? After I heard this, I couldn't hold back and scolded the envoy. The East Qin envoy had an arrogant expression. He said that since it is a competition, it is fair. If their East Qin people can do it, why can't our West Chu people do it? If we admit defeat, then this competition will end here. That envoy's words are not unreasonable. Chen Ning nodded again. When the eldest princess heard this, she angrily threw down her hand. She stared at her and said, Ning-er, Why are you saying this? Are you even a West Chu person? I'm only saying that this method is fair. If the East Qin country can do it, our West Chu can also do it. Chen Ning said with a calm expression. She did not change her expression because of the eldest princess change. But memorizing the stele while writing, how can there be someone who could do it? This was the competition method proposed by the East Qin country, and the people they sent out must have been trained beforehand. We don't know how long they have been training for, but we only just learned the competition method. Even if we started training now, it would be too late. The competition is in 3 days, and there are only 3 days, so where can Royal Brother find someone like this? We can only let Xiao Bai give it a try. The eldest princess gave a sigh, not caring about blaming Chen Ning. She placed her hands on her cheeks and began to worry about Mo Chuan. The eldest princess is talking about King Jing and Chu Xiao Bai. Chen Ning's heart skipped a beat. The eldest princess listlessly nodded. Xiao Bai is very smart. Although he doesn't have a photographic memory, he isn't far from it. I think Royal Brother will definitely send him to compete, because in the entire capital, there is no one smarter than Xiao Bai. Chapter 567. The eldest princess shook her head and said, I'm afraid this matter is not as simple as we think it is. The East Qin country is clearly prepared this time, and since they dare propose this kind of competition, it means they have confidence in their victory. AI, Royal Brother, must be gathering the ministers to discuss things. Perhaps there will be someone more suitable than Xiao Bai. Let's just wait here for the news. After dinner, Yi Tingxian finally brought news from the palace. It was as the eldest princess expected. The ministers unanimously recommended Chu Xiao Bai to compete, and Chu Xiao Bai generously agreed. Only he said that he did not have confidence in winning because the news he obtained from the capital was that the East Qin country would send a mysterious expert to compete, and this mysterious expert was most likely the East Qin crown prince. Hearing this news, the ministers, including Mo Chuan, couldn't help taking in a cold breath. Everyone had high hopes for Chu Xiao Bai and had confidence in him winning this competition. But when they heard the East Qin crown prince, the ministers couldn't help shaking their heads. Their faces turned dark, knowing that there was no need to compete, and they had already lost 99% of the time. This East Qin crown prince could be said to be famous among the 4 countries. He had a natural talent, an outstanding memory, and a photographic memory. He had the reputation of being the smartest person in the world. It was rumored that he could recite a book he had only read once. Moreover, no matter what section of the book was mentioned, he would recite it without any hesitation, and he would not miss a single word. But rumors were just rumors. They were inevitably exaggerated. So naturally, there would be people who were dissatisfied and went to challenge the East Qin crown prince. Everyone wanted to defeat him and take the title of the smartest person in the world. However, all of them were defeated in the end. Now, the West Chu ministers knew why the East Qin country was fearless enough to propose this kind of competition. As long as the East Qin crown prince came out, they would definitely win. After hearing Yi Tingxian's words, the eldest princess revealed a worried expression. She rubbed her palms and said, What should we do? Although Xiao Bai is smart, he can't compare to the East Qin crown prince. We'll lose for sure. Yi Tingxian's eyes sparkled as if he was thinking of something. He suddenly said, King Jing, and said that if the East Qin crown prince really participated, he has no confidence in winning. However, he recommended a person to the emperor, saying that this person is 10 times smarter than him. If this person is willing, perhaps he could defeat the East Qin crown prince. Oh, who is this person? He's even smarter than Xiao Bai? The eldest princess' eyes lit up. Yi Tingxian shook his head and said, King Jing, and is not willing to say it. He said he only knows of this person, but he doesn't know if this person is willing to stand up for West Chu, so he won't reveal this person's name. He said he would respect his own wishes. This Xiao Bai really stuttering. Since there is such an expert, then we should go and invite him. As long as he is in the capital, as long as he is from West Chu, this princess does not believe that he will not agree. The eldest princess is right and the ministers all agree with the eldest princess. King Jing said that if the emperor agreed to one of this person's conditions, perhaps this person would be willing to come out. As soon as the emperor heard this, he said without hesitation, "As long as this person can win the competition, no matter what request he makes, we will agree to it." Chapter 568. The eldest princess slapped the table and praised, "Not bad, not bad. If I was the emperor's brother, I would also agree to anything." Yi Tingxian said with a faint smile. King Jing said that there was no proof, so the emperor personally wrote an imperial edict for King Jing and to invite this expert to compete. King Jing took the imperial edict and left the palace. He said that within 3 days, he would invite this expert. The eldest princess said with wide-open eyes, "Xiao Bai believes that this person can win? What happens if he loses?" King Jing never talks nonsense. Since he has this much confidence in this person, then this person must have something special about him. To be honest, I also want to see what this expert King Jing mentioned looks like. AI, this kind of person, he must have a strange appearance and stand out from the masses. Yi Tingxian's expression was filled with fascination. Then we'll wait for Xiao Bai's good news." The eldest princess let out a sigh of relief. She looked at Chen Ning and asked, "Ninger, why haven't you said anything? Don't you also want to see the senior expert that Xiao Bai mentioned?" Chen Ning gave a vague unsound. The eldest princess pulled her hand and said, "The competition is in 3 days, so you can come with this princess. You can sit by this princess side at that time. That brat Chu Xiao Yang won't dare come and talk to you." "All right. Many thanks to the eldest princess." Chen Ning thanked the eldest princess. She saw Yi Tingxian looking at the eldest princess with a loving gaze. She knew that the two of them still had things to say, so she bid farewell to the eldest princess and walked back to her room. On the way, her brows knit together as she thought. The person Chu Xiao Bai recommended to Mo Chuan. Could it be her? The more she thought about it, the more likely it seemed. This was because she had shown her memory to Chu Xiao Bai once before. Chu Xiao Bai's stunned appearance at that time was still in front of her. But why didn't he say it to Mo Chuan? Why did he pretend to be mysterious and ask the emperor for this strange edict? All of a sudden, her chest violently shook and her heart began to beat wildly. He did it for her. It was all for her. This edict was specially asked for her. He knew that she wanted to separate from Chu Xiao Yang, but she lacked a chance. Now that chance had finally come. If she could win, she could openly ask the emperor for her request. No matter what it was, the emperor's words were like gold, and an imperial edict had been given, so he had to agree to it no matter what. This is a ruler's words. This made it impossible for Chu Xiao Yang to object. Moreover, this way, no one would suspect that the emperor was deliberately biased, and no one would suspect that there was any ambiguous relationship between the emperor and her. This was because when the edict was issued, the emperor had no idea who this person was and what kind of request she would make. This would protect her reputation and also protect Mo Chuan's reputation. Like this, it would protect the reputation of the world. Chen Ning's reputation. Chen's eyes. She never thought that Chu Xiao Bai would be this considerate for her, considering every aspect for her. Moreover, he was so meticulous, treating her with all his heart. Xiao Bai. Xiao Bai. 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 Xiao Xiao. Xiao. Did he know what happened between her and Mo Chuan? Chapter 569. Chen Ning gave a faint sigh. She passed through a moon gate and entered a garden. After passing through the garden, she returned to the place she lived in. She knew that Chu Xiao Bai would come to find her, but she didn't know what to say to him when she saw him. Should she thank him or apologize? She was walking in a daze when she suddenly heard someone call her from behind. Ninger. The voice was warm and clear, sounding very peaceful in the night. Chen Ning stopped moving and slowly turned her head. Then she saw Chu Xiao Bai. He was standing under an apricot tree, his white clothes like frost. The apricot flowers were like fire, and there was a bright red lantern hanging from the tree. The light shined on his handsome face, making him look very gentle and hazy. Ninger, he called her again and revealed a faint smile to her. His face was like a painting, his eyes were clear, and his face was like jade. The apricot flowers that bloomed like a fire were overshadowed by his smile. Ning gave a slight sigh. She already knew that he looked like a monster, and now that he was smiling, he looked even more like one. She slowly walked over to him. Xiao Bai. His eyes sparkled as he quietly looked at her. He suddenly raised his hand and placed something in her hand. Ning, or what do you think this is? She didn't need to look down. She could feel the silky, smooth feeling, and she knew that this was the imperial decree he had painstakingly obtained for her. Her heart was moved, and her eyes filled with tears. She looked at him. Xiao Bai, thank you. You already know? AI. It must have been Yi Ting Xian who told you, right? I knew that this brat would tell my royal aunt everything. If it wasn't for me being delayed, I would have been the first person to tell you this good news. Chu Xiao Bai regretfully stomped his feet, but his face still had a calm and pure expression. Chen Ning suddenly felt that she didn't need to say anything. He understood everything, and he didn't blame her at all. His attitude towards her was still the same as before. A large stone fell from her heart. She was really worried that after he knew about her and Mo Chuan's matter, he would hate her and blame her. On his face, she didn't see a trace of sadness, anger, resentment, or jealousy. His smile was just as gentle as before. Perhaps his love for her was that kind of pure and unadulterated love. Xiao Bai, are you that confident that I can win against the East Qin Crown Prince? He's the smartest person in the world, and I'm just an unknown little girl. Have you ever thought about what would happen if I lost? Wouldn't I become a sinner of West Chu? The people must hate me to death. She blinked and purposely put on a troubled expression. He thought about it and said in a serious voice, I never thought you would win, but your chances of winning are higher than mine. I hope you can win and fight for this hard to come by chance. If you can't win, I believe no one in West Chu can win against the East Qin Crown Prince. The citizens will not blame you, so don't feel too much pressure. But how do you know I can read steals? I've never practiced at all. She was telling the truth. Chapter 570. This wasn't something that could be secured just by having an outstanding memory. Since East Qin dared to come up with this topic, it meant that the East Qin Crown Prince was certain of winning. He must have perfectly combined the two. However, she only had less than 3 days to practice visual recognition that she had never tried before. Even she was not confident in it. Ninger, I believe in you, he firmly said. She revealed a bitter smile. She did not believe in herself. But she would do her best to fight this time. For Mo Chuan, for her freedom, she had to win. With a pong sound, the two of them were scared. They looked in the direction of the sound at the same time. They saw a large and beautiful firework appear in the night sky, not far away. It was dazzling to the eyes, blooming with 5 colors as it bloomed in the sky. The flowers were like rain, the stars were like rain, and the little fireworks scattered down, creating a beautiful scene. Such beautiful fireworks. Chen Ning stared at it and gave a heartfelt praise. She was looking at the fireworks, but he was looking at her. Her eyes were even brighter than the fireworks, and her face was even more beautiful than the fireworks. He could not get enough of looking at her. When she came back to her senses and looked at him, he looked up at the night sky that was dyed red by the fireworks. Ning, do you want to see the lantern show? He excitedly suggested. Lantern show? That's right, this year is the annual lantern show. It is the most lively one. There are lantern races, lantern riddles, and all kinds of interesting things that you can't even imagine. Do you want to see it? Chen Ning's heart skipped a beat, and she nodded. All right, I'll go take a look. She was still young and liked the romantic fireworks and lights. Should we call the eldest princess and husband Yi to come with us? Chu Xiaobai shook his head with a smile. My royal aunt has never liked this. Husband Yi has a calm personality and hates crowded places, so they definitely won't go. What? Are you afraid I won't be able to protect you if you come with me to the lantern show? You can be assured what happened last time won't happen again. He smiled as he took out 2 masks from his chest. One had a smiling face and one had a crying face, waving them in front of her. Choose for yourself. Which one do you want to wear? Chen Ning said with a smile. Xiao Bai, you're really thoughtful. She went to take the crying face, but he gave the smiling face to her. I like seeing you smile, he said in a serious voice. She took the mask with a smile and put it on. To be honest, she was really worried that they would be harassed by the hooligans on the streets. Although they had little White's protection, they were going out to see the lanterns, not to look for trouble. If they were to fight and kill along the way, what fun would there be? Chu Xiao Bai put on the crying face mask, only revealing a pair of dark eyes. The two of them walked on a crowded street. The lights were like a sea, and the people were like a sea. It was as if all the people in the capital had come out to watch the lanterns. This was indeed a rare show. It could not be described with just the word lively. Ning never thought that the ancient lantern festival would be more interesting than the modern one. She stood in front of a lantern competition stall and couldn't help being stunned. There are all kinds of lanterns here, and they were of different shapes. There was a money box in front of each lantern. If the tourists thought that they liked the most, they would put a copper coin into the money box. Finally, the number of copper coins in the money box would be counted, and the one with the most copper coins would be the winner. Chapter 571. Chen Ning gave a serious nod. In her eyes, each lantern was the result of the craftsman's hard work. Those ingenious designs made her feel like it was an eye-opener for someone from the modern era. She really did put a copper coin into the money box in front of each lantern. After leaving the lantern booth, the two of them were pushed forward by the tide of people. Although the night was getting darker and darker, the lanterns were still bright. They lit up the dark sky and also lit up the smiling faces of the people watching the lanterns. As the annual Lantern Festival, all the youthful boys and girls were looking forward to meeting the right person on this day. From time to time, Chen Ning would see a handsome young man and a beautiful young girl bumping into each other in the crowd. Both of their faces would turn red, and they would look at each other affectionately, as if they were lovers and concubines were interested in each other. She would also see some young girls holding small lanterns in their hands. When they met a man they liked, they would come forward with a red face and give the lantern in their hands to the man. If the man accepted it, it meant that he had accepted the girl's friendship. Of course, there were also some exceptionally outstanding men who received lanterns from different girls in a row. For example, Chu Xiao Bai was one of them. Before they even took a few steps, Chen Ning found that Chu Xiao Bai was surrounded by a group of fragrant clothes. Although he was wearing a mask, his outstanding charm and otherworldly temperament made him particularly eye-catching. Many girls threw flirtatious glances at him, but he ignored them all. This young master, this lantern, please accept it. A bold girl squeezed out of the crowd and gave the lantern in her hand to Chu Xiao Bai with a red face. Young master, this servant's lantern was personally made by this servant. I ask young master to accept it. This is my lantern. In the blink of an eye, Chu Xiao Bai's chest suddenly had 7-8 lanterns of various shapes and colors. He threw all the lanterns on the ground without any hesitation. Then he grabbed Chen Ning's hand and left without looking back, not caring about the broken hearts behind him at all. Boring. These women are really boring. He waved his sleeves in annoyance. Chen Ning looked at him and began to giggle. What are you laughing at? Chu Xiao Bai stared at her. Nothing. Chen Ning turned her face away with a smile. She suddenly pointed at the crowd in front of them. Xiao Bai, look over there. There's someone doing riddles. You like it? Come, let's go guess the riddles. He pulled her hand and led her through the crowd, arriving in front of the high platform. There was a sea of people in front of the high platform. If Chu Xiao Bai did not secretly use his internal energy, the two of them would not have been able to squeeze in. Nearly 100 lanterns were hung below the high platform. Each lantern was exquisitely made. Under each tea lantern, there was a note with a riddle written on it. As long as they guessed the riddle on the lantern, they would receive a corresponding gift. Of course, the riddles for every lantern were different. The harder the riddle, the more valuable the gift. Of them, the remaining riddles were the riddle that they were. The riddles were the riddles. The remaining riddles were naturally harder to guess. Of course, the prizes were also extremely generous. Many people were gathered around the largest and most beautiful four-screen lamp, frowning as they racked their brains for a solution. Chapter 572. It was because it was mysterious that more and more people wanted to guess this riddle. Ning, let's guess this lantern, how about it? Chu Xiao by excitedly pulled Chen Ning to the four lanterns and began reading the riddle on them. This is a couplet, he said word for word. The first couplet is, white isn't, black isn't, red isn't, yellow isn't. It's like a fox, wolf, cat, or dog. It's neither a domestic animal nor a wild beast. After pausing, he continued to read the second couplet. There are poems, there are lyrics, and there are also rites. It's vague on the north, south, east, and west. Although it's short, it's still a wonderful piece of writing. After reading it, he couldn't help knitting his brows like the people around him. He thought that with his intelligence, it would be easy for him to guess this riddle, and he would win the mysterious gift for her. He never thought that this riddle would be harder than he expected. He guessed several words in his heart, but he felt that they were all wrong. He couldn't help feeling depressed. When he looked up, he happened to meet her slightly smiling eyes. Ning, could it be that you've guessed it? Chen Ning said with a faint smile. This isn't hard to guess. The surrounding scholars all sucked in a cold breath as they stared at her with wide eyes. I say, little girl, you don't look that old, but your tone isn't small at all. All of us can't guess it, but you're saying it's not hard? It's easier said than done. Since you say this riddle isn't hard, then what do you think the answer is? These people were not convinced and began to ridicule Chen Ning. Chu Xiao Bai's eyes revealed a look of anger as he coldly said, You pedantic scholars, if you don't have any skill, how would you know that others don't have any skill? You only know how to be jealous. No wonder you have a large beard and are wearing white robes. You can't wear a purple robe. The people saying these strange words were not young, and they were wearing the scholars' white robes. They were proud of their status, but they had been slapped in the face by Chu Xiaobai's words. They were filled with anger as they pointed at Chu Xiaobai and said, Stinky brat, stop protecting that little girl. She dares to brag. So why don't you make her say the answer and let us pedantic scholars see this little girl's talent for being the champion? Chen Ning pursed her lips and disapprovingly said, It's just a riddle. It's not that great of a skill. Even if I become the champion, I wouldn't care about it. She did not have a good impression of these old scholars. They spoke in a sour tone, were narrow-minded, and had no tolerance for others. It was no wonder that they failed all the examinations. If she was the chief examiner, she would definitely not accept these kinds of students. Hearing this, the surrounding people looked at her, and their chins fell to the ground. Hearing this, everyone looked at her, and their jaws fell to the ground. A waiter smiled at Chen Ning and said, This miss, if you can guess the answer to this riddle, then please write it down on this piece of paper and let this little one take it to the owner of the lantern. If you can guess it, then I'll have to congratulate this miss. This little girl's tone was becoming more and more arrogant the more she spoke. Chen Ning nodded with a smile. She wrote 2 words on a piece of paper and gave it to the waiter. The waiter quickly squeezed out of the crowd with the piece of paper and went up to the high platform. He said something to an old man on the high platform and then handed over the answer to Chen Ning's riddle. Chapter 573. The old man opened the note and took a look. His eyes instantly lit up and he revealed a smile. He nodded and then picked up a brocade box beside him. He followed the waiter down the stage and walked in Chen Ning's direction. When everyone saw this scene, they all let out a hua sound. They knew that Chen Ning had guessed the riddle, and they all looked at her with envious eyes. This old man was a famous merchant in the capital city. Every year, he would hold a grand riddle guessing contest, and the person who guessed it would be given a very rich gift. He had made this riddle from last year to this year, and no one had ever guessed it. So the old man had said from the beginning that whoever guessed the riddle this year would receive a mysterious gift. The waiter led the old man through the crowd. He came in front of Chen Ning and said, This is the riddle that this young miss has guessed. The old man said with a smile, Young miss, you've guessed the riddle of this 4-screen lantern. This is the prize this old man prepared for this riddle. I ask young miss to accept it. Chen Ning smiled as she took the brocade box from the old man's hand and said, "Many thanks." Her hand suddenly sank down, and she almost dropped the box on the ground. It was a good thing Chu Xiaobai was quick and caught it. This box is so heavy." She didn't expect that the brocade box, which didn't look big, would be so heavy. She didn't know what was inside. Ninger, open it and see what kind of mysterious gift it is. Why is it so heavy? Chu Xiaobai also felt this was strange. This brocade box was only a foot wide. Even if the entire box was made of iron, it would not be this heavy. Chen Ning nodded. She opened the box and saw that there was an irregular stone inside the box. It was around the size of a fist and looked dark. The surrounding crowd had already stretched their necks out with curious faces. They were prepared to see what kind of priceless treasure this mysterious gift was. But who would have thought that it would be a normal-looking stone? They all burst out in laughter. Especially the old scholars that had been mocked by Chu Xiaobai. Their laughter was the loudest. I thought it was something good, but I never thought it would be a broken stone. Interesting, truly interesting. We really have to congratulate this young miss. Congratulations to this young miss. We thought we would be able to pick up a treasure, but we never thought that it would be a broken stone. Ha 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 ha. These people all revealed expressions of schadenfreude. Chen Ning was wearing a mask, and no one could see her expression, but her laughter rang out like a silver bell. Thank you, uncle. This is really a good treasure. It's a pity that most people have eyes but can't see it. They actually think it's a piece of rotten stone. They really have eyes but can't see. When the old man heard this, his eyes couldn't help lighting up. Miss, do you know what kind of treasure this is? To tell you the truth, this old man obtained this stone by accident. I only know that its value is extraordinary, but I don't know what's so special about it. If young lady knows what it is, I hope young lady can tell me. Chen Ning did not know what kind of treasure this stone was, but she knew that when things reached an extreme, they would move in the opposite direction. This stone looked normal, but it was 10 times heavier than normal stones of the same size, so it was definitely not a normal item. Chen's heart. This Chen's. Chu Xiaobai was holding the stone and studying it, but he suddenly shouted out in excitement. Chapter 574. Chu Xiaobai placed the stone in front of her and pointed at the surface of the stone. He said in a pleasantly surprised voice, Ning, look, there's a faint red glow on the surface of the stone, and it is incomparably heavy. This means that there is a large amount of profound iron inside, because profound iron is 10 times heavier than normal iron. If you touch it, it will be cold to the touch, just like a block of ice. So I can conclude that this is an extremely rare, profound, cold iron stone. As soon as his voice fell, the surrounding people began to buzz with disbelief. Everyone looked at Chen Ning with eyes filled with disdain and schadenfreude, but now they were filled with envy and jealousy. Their eyes stared right at the black stone in Chu Xiaobai's hand. They wished a hand could grow out of their eyes and take it for themselves. Chen Ning did not know what kind of treasure the profound cold iron stone was, but most of the people here knew. This was a strange stone produced in the extreme north. It was something that could only be found and not sought. It was worth 100 times more than gold of the same size. But everyone had only heard of this stone and had never seen it before. So when they heard that the prize for the lantern riddle was this precious, profound, cold iron stone, many people could not hold themselves back. Counselor Liu, you said that this girl guessed the riddle. Please announce the riddle and this girl's answer, so that we can all be convinced. An old scholar said. That old man held a riddle party every year. So many people knew that he was surnamed Liu. All right, then I'll announce the answer to this riddle. Squire Liu nodded his head and pointed at the riddle. The first half of the couplet is guess, and the second half is riddles. Put together, it is guessing. What, did you guys guess it as well? As he said this, he opened Chen Ning's handwritten note. There were 2 clear words written on it, riddles. Everyone broke out in cheers. Those old scholars felt like they had lost all face and were filled with shame. They retreated back into the crowd and did not show their faces again. Chen Ning took the profound cold iron stone from Chu Xiaobai's hands. She was prepared this time and held it firmly. She felt that this stone was ice cold to the touch. It truly deserved its name. She placed the cold stone back into the box and gave it back to Counselor Liu. Counselor Liu said in a stunned voice, "Miss, what do you mean by this? Since this profound cold iron stone is so precious, how could this little girl refuse it?" I asked Counselor Liu to take it back. Since Miss and this young master can recognize its origin, it is enough to show that you are fated with it. This old man will definitely not return the gift. Giving the stone to Miss is like gifting a treasured sword to a hero or gifting powder to a beautiful woman. As soon as he finished speaking, the crowd said in unison, "Exactly, exactly." Seeing his sincerity, Chen Ning sincerely thanked him and accepted it. Chu Xiaobai took it for her and said with a smile, "Ninger, you like guessing lantern riddles. There are still many that you haven't guessed yet, so why don't you guess them all? Perhaps there will be a pleasant surprise as a prize." Chen Ning nodded with a smile. "Then I'll keep guessing for fun." Chapter 575. This is hibiscus. She thought about it and thought of the answer. Director Liu nodded with a smile and said, "That's right, it's hibiscus. Someone come, give this lantern riddle prize to this girl." The waiter brought over a brocade box. When he opened it, there was a beautiful mirror inside. Only this mirror was different from the common bronze mirrors on the market. It was carved out of glass, and the reflection was incomparably clear. It could compare to modern-day craftsmanship. Wow, what a beautiful mirror. The surrounding women immediately let out sounds of envy. This was something they had never seen before. Chen Ning revealed a smile. She was already used to this since she came from the modern era. She gave it to Chu Xiaobai beside her and then went to guess the next lantern riddle. These lantern riddles were not complicated at all. It was just that the person who came up with the riddle was deliberately mystifying them. There were curtains and acrostic poems, creating many tricks. She only thought about it for a bit and guessed them all. The waiter ran back and forth to take the prize. He was panting from running, but he could not keep up with Chen Ning's speed. Later, he learned to be good. After taking the prize, he did not give it to Chen Ning and directly placed it in Chu Xiaobai's chest. Very quickly, Chu Xiaobai's chest was filled with large and small brocade boxes. "Yi Xiaobai, where are you?" After Chen Ning finished guessing the lantern riddle, she turned around and found that Chu Xiaobai had disappeared. She asked in a surprised voice, "I'm here." Chu Xiaobai's clear voice came from the pile of boxes. Chen Ning looked over and could only laugh as she bent over. The gift boxes were piled high, and even Chu Xiaobai's head could be seen. He looked like a moving Christmas tree with Santa's presents hanging all over him. "Xiaobai, why are you so silly? If you can't take these boxes, then don't take them. Why are you holding them all in your chest?" She smiled and wanted to help him reduce his burden, but Chu Xiaobai dodged to the side. He tightly held the boxes in his chest like they were treasures. "If you don't want them, I want them. If you don't want them, I want them," he said. Chen Ning felt it was strange and tilted her head to look at him. He was the respected King Jing, and why would he care about these prizes? Other than that profound cold iron stone, which was very precious, the other items were not worth too much silver. Why did he treat them like treasures? "Then I'll help you take a few." "No need, no need. These things are not heavy at all. Don't touch them, otherwise they'll fall." Chu Xiaobai held the gift box and carefully walked forward. At some point, the mask on his face had been scraped off by the gift box, revealing a delicate and handsome face. His eyes were black and bright, and he was in high spirits. There was a smile on his lips. In order to prevent her from stealing the things in his arms, Chu Xiaobai walked in front, and she followed behind him. He blocked the surging stream of people for her and protected the things in his arms from falling. From time to time, he would turn around and smile at her. Each time he Chu Xiao Xiao, Su Shi Xiao every, she looked. Hi. She saw the passers-by looking at her, and then looking at Chu Xiaobai with gazes of sympathy. Bye. She. And she. I. Chapter 576. That girl raised her hand and slapped Qinning's face while scolding her. You bad woman, not taking your own things and letting this young master take them for you. Do you still have any face? Qinning instinctively dodged. She grabbed the girl's hand and said in a cold voice, Who are you? Why are you hitting me? As soon as her voice fell, another girl charged out of the crowd and reached out to grab her hair. Bad woman, actually treating such a handsome young master like a servant. This is too infuriating. This girl will definitely teach you a lesson. Following that, several other girls charged out, hitting and grabbing at her. So, it was all for Chu Xiaobai. Qinning didn't know whether to laugh or cry. Although she knew some basic self-defense techniques, it was not enough for her to deal with these jealous young girls at the same time. She felt a chill on her face as her smiling mask was taken off by a girl. Everyone's eyes lit up as they saw her snow-white cheeks and misty hair. Even the tens of thousands of lanterns could not cover her brilliance. That girl was stunned. She stretched out her sharp nails and slashed at Qinning's face. With a chi sound, that girl suddenly felt a sharp pain in her wrist. She had been hit by something, and tears began to fall from the pain. Looking down, she found that it was a gift box that had hit her. Ayo, so painful. The girls surrounding Qinning all cried out in pain as they were all hit by the gift box. If it wasn't hitting their faces, it was hitting their hands. When they looked up, they saw that Chu Xiaobai was already standing in front of Qinning, glaring at them. Who dares to touch her again? He protected Qinning. Ayo, young master, we really can't stand seeing this. That's right, this bad woman is bullying you. We really can't stand it. That's right, this bad woman is bullying you. We really can't stand it. The girls all had looks of grievance on their faces. They were bragging to Chu Xiaobai while secretly looking at him. Chu Xiaobai revealed a smile. His smile was like the cold moon, making the girl's eyes pop out, but his words were merciless. What does it matter to you how she orders me around? This young master is happy to be ordered around by her. What does it matter to you? His words made the girls' faces turn red, and they couldn't say a word. Pucci. Qinning couldn't hold it in and began to laugh. The girls were so angry that their lungs were about to explode. They pointed at Chu Xiaobai and said, You really don't know how to appreciate people. I think you're just dogs, catching mice, and meddling in other people's business. If you really have nothing better to do, then stay at home and do embroidery and study. Don't go out and make a fool of yourself and embarrass yourself. Chu Xiaobai was too lazy to even look at them. He turned to Qinning and said, Ning, or are you injured? Qinning shook her head and said, I'm not hurt. The young girls' faces turned red from the humiliation. Seeing how Chu Xiaobai was supporting Qinning like this, some of them cried out and ran away. Some of them had tears in their eyes, and some of them stared at Qinning. Ninger, let's go. Ignore these hateful women. Ning, let go. Ning and Ning comma chun comma, Ning. Chapter 577. There were very few people on the stone bridge, but there were many red men and green women on both sides of the bridge. They were squatting on the shore and placing lanterns filled with wishes into the water, letting the lanterns float down the river. Looking down from the bridge, the lanterns on the river were floating down the river. It was like countless stars had fallen into the water, making it look like a bright galaxy. It's really beautiful. Qinning propped up her chin as she lay on the stone bridge, looking at the river and the lanterns on the river. Come, let's see what kind of good things you've won today. Chu Xiaobai giggled as he placed all the boxes on the ground. Then he excitedly opened them like a child. Qinning also revealed a smile. She also had the excitement of opening presents. The two of them opened the boxes one by one. Other than the precious, profound, cold ironstone, the most precious thing was the glass mirror, as well as a few beaded bracelets and daily necessities. Every time they opened one, Chu Xiaobai would ask her, Do you like it? Do you want to keep it? Qinning would always shake her head with a smile. She did not have any interest in these things. As for the lantern riddles, it was just for fun and not to win any prizes. All right, if you don't want it, then I'll take it. He placed all the things she didn't want into a box and then held it in his chest like it was a treasure. You have to keep this profound cold iron stone and the mirror. Chu Xiaobai gave the glass mirror and the profound cold iron stone to her. I want this mirror, but this stone, I really don't know what use it has, so I'll just give it to you. Chen Ning gave the box containing the profound cold iron stone to Chu Xiaobai. Do you really not know, or are you pretending not to know? He revealed a surprised look on his face. I only know that it is very precious and worth a lot of money, but I really don't know what use it has. She honestly said. In her memory palace, there was no record of the profound cold iron stone at all. This is an extremely rare type of iron ore. It's extremely rare, and it's produced in the bitter cold lands of the extreme north. In the profound cold iron stone, the more profound iron it contains, the rarer it is. Look at this stone. Its entire body is emitting a faint red light. It's enough to show that it's extremely rich in profound iron. If it can be refined and added when refining weapons, even if it's ordinary iron, it will immediately become a rare and powerful weapon. Tell me, isn't this a treasure? This piece of profound cold iron stone is the size of a fist, and I estimate that it can be used to create several world-shaking swords. Do you not want this kind of treasure? If you really don't want it, then I'll take it. He purposely held the box in his chest, making it seem like he was not willing of it. Profound of profound cold, Chu said with a faint smile. Are you serious? Chu Xiaobai's eyes lit up. Any martial artist would dream of owning a good weapon that could cut through gold and jade. A godly weapon would be able to double one's martial prowess. But this kind of opportunity could only be found and not sought. Although Chu Xiaobai was a prince and had seen many treasures in the world, he had never seen a legendary divine weapon. He could imagine how incomparably sharp a weapon forged from this profound cold iron stone would be. It was enough to make all martial artists go crazy. Chapter 578. Chu Xiaobai's handsome face turned slightly red. He suddenly knit his brows and looked down at the riverbank. What's happening over there? Chen Ning also heard the commotion coming from under the bridge, and she looked down from the stone bridge. She saw that the warm and romantic river lantern scene had disappeared, and the young girls on the shore were in a panic. They were all in a mess as they hid behind their families. Several dozen tall men were squeezed into the crowd. Their eyes were like wolves releasing a green light. Seeing a young girl, they would go up and grab them, carefully looking over them. If they were beautiful, they would be thrown into a carriage on the side. All the young girls that were thrown into the carriage were tied up like dumplings, and their mouths were gagged. They couldn't cry even if they wanted to. Let go of my daughter. Who are you? You dare to kidnap young girls in front of everyone. This is the son of heaven's land. Do you still have the law in your eyes? The citizens and the young girls' families were filled with rage. They charged out, wanting to save the young girls that were tied up. Who would have thought that these several dozen large men would be incomparably strong? They had bare right arms that were filled with muscles, and their palms were like fans, looking like they were trained in martial arts. A large man grabbed a citizen that was charging forward and raised him up high into the air like a chicken. Then he suddenly let go and threw that citizen far away. The surrounding people all shouted out. They saw that citizen fall from the sky, and with a potong sound, he fell into the river. Save people! Save people! That person's head came out of the river, and then he sank back down. With a potong sound, in the blink of an eye, several more citizens were thrown into the river by the large man. When everyone saw this scene, they all charged forward. They didn't know where these large men came from. Not only did they have an arrogant attitude, their martial arts were also very good. How could the citizens be a match for them? In an instant, the river was like dumplings being thrown into the water. Water splashed everywhere as citizen after citizen was thrown into the water. These people are really bold. They dare to kidnap young girls, acting so arrogantly. Ning, stay here and don't move. I'll have to go teach them a lesson. When Chu Xiaobai saw this scene, how could he endure it? With a tap of his foot, he leaped off the bridge. A large man dragged out a young girl from the crowd. The young girl desperately struggled as her face turned pale in fright, screaming for help. But when the citizens saw how fierce these large men were, throwing people around after grabbing them, the lucky ones were thrown into the river and didn't drown, but the unlucky ones were thrown into the rocks on the shore. Their heads were bleeding, and it was unknown if they were still alive. Everyone was stunned, and no one dared go forward to save the young girl. "Let go that girl!" Suddenly, a clear and pleasant voice resounded in the air, followed by the sound of clothes fluttering in the wind. Everyone only felt their vision blur, and then they saw a faintly discernible figure in white flying through the air, like a god descending to the mortal world. Chu Xiaobai's body was in the air as he reached out with his right hand and grabbed the man's right wrist. With a kacha sound, the man gave a pitiful cry like a pig being slaughtered. His wrist had actually been broken by Chu Xiaobai. The girl broke free from the man's clutches and stood there in a daze. Her eyes were wide open as she looked at the white-clothed youth descending from the sky. Chapter 579. When the large men on the side saw that their companion's wrist had been broken, they let out angry roars and tried to grab Chu Xiaobai. Lu Wanting screamed out in fear, "Young master, be careful." Chu Xiaobai's brows jumped up as he pulled her behind him. Then he waved his right hand, and with a series of pa, pa, pa sounds, all the large men were slapped in the face. His move was very fast, and the large men did not even have time to react at all. The crowd immediately burst into enthusiastic cheers. The large men were angry and embarrassed. They loudly shouted as they charged at Chu Xiaobai again. Chu Xiaobai waved his sleeve, and the large men felt a wave of power surging in front of them. They could not stand still and were pushed back, falling on their butts. "Miss, don't be afraid. With me here, they won't do anything to you." Chu Xiaobai turned around and looked at the young girl behind him. This was because she was tightly holding onto his clothes, trembling like a rabbit. Lu Wanting felt that his voice was indescribably beautiful, and she couldn't help looking up at him. Just now, his face was facing away from the light, so she couldn't see his face clearly. She could only see his snow-white clothes and his tall and straight figure. When she looked up, she saw a very handsome face. His eyebrows were like the mountains in the distance, making him stand out from the crowd. He was as beautiful as snow, making her heart beat faster. "Young master, thank you for saving one I really don't know how to repay this young master. May I ask for this young master's name and where you live? One will definitely thank this young master for saving my life in the future." Lu Wanting's heart was beating like a little deer as she thanked Chu Xiaobai with a red face. She had grown up in her house, and her family was very strict. She never left the house, not even taking a step. So even though King Jing and Chu Xiaobai was famous in the capital city, she had never seen him before. This time, when she came to watch the lanterns and make a wish, she sneaked out without bringing any servants or maids with her. She didn't expect that she would encounter such a disaster. She was scared out of her wits, but suddenly, a handsome young man dressed in white came to her rescue. His martial arts were high, and his appearance was handsome. Unexpectedly, she lost her composure and lost her heart. She had completely forgotten all the teaching she had received in the boudoir, and as she actually said her nickname. This was clearly expressing her love for Chu Xiaobai and wanting to repay him with her body. How could Chu Xiaobai understand the complicated thoughts of these girls? He did not think too much about it. He had saved her unintentionally, so he raised his eyebrows and said nonchalantly, "There's no need." Lu Wanting looked down, hiding the disappointment in her eyes. When she was about to say something, Chu Xiaobai suddenly pushed her behind him. With strange sounds coming from all directions, several dozen large men jumped up from the ground at the same time. They charged into the carriage with their weapons and charged at Chu Xiaobai. "Young master, be careful. Young master, be out." The crowd let out cries of alarm as they scattered in all directions. There were many kind-hearted people that loudly reminded Chu Xiaobai. Chu Xiaobai gave a calm smile. not even looking at the large men charging at him with their weapons. The commoners only saw a white flash in front of them before hearing a ding, ding, dang, dang sound. There was a pile of weapons on the ground. Looking at those large men, they saw that their hands were empty. Chapter 580. The burly men were all dumbfounded, while the commoners once again erupted in enthusiastic cheers. "What kind of thing are you, daring to obstruct this grandfather's good matter?" A large man that seemed like the leader pointed at Chu Xiaobai and loudly shouted. His voice was like a bell, but the words he said were strange and his pronunciation was not accurate, so they could barely understand him. Chu Xiaobai was a bit stunned. He raised his brows and said, "You aren't West Chu people. Where did these beasts come from?" The large man cried out in anger. He picked up a knife from the ground and slashed it at Chu Xiaobai while cursing. "Little beast, you dare insult my East Qin? I'll cut off your dog head." It really was East Qin people. Chu Xiaobai gave a cold laugh and suddenly made a move. He grabbed the large man's collar and raised his hand, sending the large man flying high into the air. He turned in the air and fell into the river with a putong sound. The surrounding East Qin men did not even have time to react before Chu Xiaobai threw them into the water like turtles. In the blink of an eye, the riverbank was completely silent. The several large men in the river were floating down the river. They were all cursing out, wishing they could skin Chu Xiaobai alive, but they were afraid of Chu Xiaobai's martial arts, so no one dared to climb up to the shore to fight him. The citizens gave thunderous cheers. The young girls that were tied up in the carriage were also rescued by their families. They were untied, and they all shyly thanked Chu Xiaobai. Everyone looked at Chu Xiaobai with eyes filled with worship and gratitude, and there were even quite a few people who were filled with love. Lu Wanting was one of them. Ever since Chu Xiaobai saved her, her eyes had never left his face. She came out of the crowd and was prepared to ask for his name and origin. Before she could even speak, Chu Xiaobai suddenly said, "You should quickly go home. These people will not give up like this. I can save you once, but that doesn't mean I can save you a second time." His heart was filled with melancholy. Although he had taught these East Qin men a lesson, when he thought of how these East Qin people dared to steal their own country's girls in front of their eyes, he knew that they were not putting their West Chu in their eyes at all. In these 10 years, East Qin had become more and more arrogant. Now they were treating West Chu as their vassal state, bullying them as they pleased. When would they be able to stand up straight and no longer be bullied by the East Qin people? But East Qin was holding the lifeline of their West Chu, which was his royal father. As long as his royal father was alive, West Chu would always have to lower their heads to East Qin. As long as his royal father was alive, West Chu would have to bow in front of East East. Although he was surrounded by the crowd and everyone was looking at him as if he was a hero, he did not feel happy at all. He hoped that in the competition in 3 days, Chen Ning would be able to give the East Qin country a heavy blow and win a beautiful battle, making their East Qin country dare look down on West Chu again. When he thought of Chen Ning, his heart filled with warmth and his eyes lit up. But when he looked up at the bridge, he found that there was no one where Chen Ning had been standing. He was instantly covered in a cold sweat. Ning-er, Ning-er. Chu Xiaobai's heart began to beat wildly, and he flew up without even thinking. Chapter 581. "I so painful." She cried out in pain, but Chu Xiaobai turned a deaf ear to her and did not look back. He only cared about Chen Ning. There was no place for anyone else. Not to mention that he did not notice that Lu Wanting had fallen. Even if he did notice, he would not stop. Young master, young master." Lu Wanting's charming voice came from behind him, but he did not hear it at all. He ran onto the stone bridge in a single breath. Everything on the stone bridge was the same as when he had left, except for the fact that her figure was missing. "Ning-er, Ning-er." He shouted at the top of his lungs and used his qin gong. A white shadow dashed up and down the bridge twice, shouting and searching at the same time. He had only left for half a cup of tea's time, but Chen Ning had already disappeared. Did she leave on her own? Or was she taken away by someone? If she had been taken away, he was not far from the bridge. As long as she let out a cry of surprise, he would have heard it. But he did not hear anything. When he first snatched the weapons from the men's hands, he even raised his head to look at her. He saw her lying on the stone bridge with a smile in her dark and bright eyes, giving him a thumbs up. She had clearly been here a moment ago, so why did she disappear in the blink of an eye? Chu Xiaoyang's blood boiled, and his mind was in a mess. He was like a headless fly as he charged into the crowd, shouting and shouting. There were people beside him that recognized him as the hero that had saved her, so they all asked him with concern, "Young master, are you looking for someone? Have you lost your companions? What does the person you're looking for look like? Tell us, and we'll all help you find them." Chu Xiaobai gratefully nodded to everyone. "Have you seen a girl wearing a light green robe? She's around 16 or 17 years old. She's very pretty, the kind that people will never forget." When everyone heard this, they couldn't help looking at each other in blank dismay. Ku, this young master, can you describe it in more detail? There are many girls that have an unforgettable appearance. The girls that were taken away by those villains all had an unforgettable appearance. An old man coughed twice and said, Chu Xiaobai thought in his heart, how could those girls compare Ning? Ninger, the standing in the middle of them, was like a pearl in front of tile. But he couldn't say it out loud. Her eyes are very beautiful, brighter than the stars in the sky. As long as you see her, you will know. He thought about it, but he did not know how to describe Chun Ning's appearance. He realized that his mouth was really too stupid. Perhaps it was because in his heart, she was the kind of beauty that could not be described with words. When everyone heard this, they all felt that it was funny. However, when they saw his worried expression, no one dared to laugh. The old man waved his arm and said, "This young master just helped us save our family and taught a lesson to the villains. That's why he was separated from his little lover. We must help this young master find his beloved girl. Now, let's go look for her together. As long as it's a girl wearing light green clothes with eyes brighter than the stars, we will bring her here. Let the young master see if she's the one he's looking for." Chu Xiaobai's handsome face turned slightly red as he said, "Old sir, she is not my little lover. She is my good friend." Chapter 582. Although the old man nodded, he still had a look of disapproval on his face, thinking that he was too shy to admit it. Chu Xiaobai did not bother explaining and let them misunderstand. The crowd scattered to look for Chun Ning. Chu Xiaobai ran onto the stone bridge again and stood where Chun Ning was standing not long ago. His hand was placed on the cold stone, and his heart was filled with ice. He looked down from above, looking at the crowd on both sides of the river. He wanted to find that familiar figure in the crowd. Although he knew it was futile, he had to look, because he had already realized that she didn't leave on her own. Something unexpected must have happened. He could not think of any reason for her to leave without saying goodbye. His gaze subconsciously glanced at a spot, and his eyes immediately narrowed. He was now in the shadows not far away from him, and there was something shining brightly. He walked over and bent down to pick it up. Just taking a look, his throat tightened. This was the glass mirror she had just obtained. Then he found the box with the profound, cold iron stone in the shadows. There was also an even larger gift box that contained all the small gifts she had won from guessing the lantern riddles. He opened the box and found the profound, cold iron stone. He opened the gift box and found all the small gifts were there. Only she was missing. Ninger! Ninger! Chu Xiaobai tightly held the two boxes and loudly shouted. His voice was filled with sorrow, as if he was crying. His heart was filled with hate and regret. Why was he so careless, leaving her here alone, causing her to meet with an accident? If anything happened to her, how could he live? He would be drowned in pain and regret for the rest of his life. That's right. Could she have been taken away by the emperor again? This thought suddenly flashed through his mind, instantly filling his despairing heart with hope again. Right, it must be like this. It must be the emperor who took her away and did not let him know, making him worry and making him worry. It must be to punish him for secretly bringing her out to see the lanterns. but this kind of punishment almost scared half his life away. Chu Xiaobai's heart relaxed. If the person who took her away was the emperor, then she would not be in any danger. But what if it wasn't? His heart was in chaos. Waiting here was not a solution at all, so he decided to go find Zhue Feng. Even if she was taken away by someone else, with Zhue Feng's tracking skills, he would definitely be able to find her. Chu Xiaobai was about to leave when a clear and delicate voice suddenly came from behind him. "Please wait." His body trembled, and he quickly turned around. He saw a young girl in light green clothes appear at the end of the bridge, and she was flying towards him. The moon and stars were dim, and it looked like her shadow. But Chu Xiaobai could clearly see that it wasn't her. This girl in a light green dress was Lu Wanting, who he had saved. He immediately frowned and said with slight impatience, "Miss, why haven't you returned home? Aren't you afraid that those people will make things difficult for you again?" Her, and stopped in front of him. Of her. Chu Xiao of her. She said with of her. Chu. Chu of to chu to chu of shakes. Chapter 583. What did you say? Chu Xiaobai suddenly turned around and grabbed her wrist. Can you say it again? You saw her? Where is she? Lu Wanting's face turned slightly red. She lowered her head and did not say a word, revealing a shy expression. She had never had a man touch her skin before. She only felt that his palm was warm, tightly gripping her wrist. She was at a loss of what to do. She wanted to break free, but she also felt reluctant. A strange feeling spread in her heart. "I'm sorry, miss. Did you really see her? Quickly tell me, where is she?" Chu Xiaobai realized that he had lost his composure and let go of her, but his eyes stared right at her face. Lu Wanting's heart couldn't help feeling sour. She was secretly thinking that she wasn't your lover. If she wasn't your lover, why would you be this nervous? She took a breath and pointed under the bridge as she said, "That's right, I saw her. She left with a black-clothed young master." A black-clothed young master? What does that young master look like? Chu Xiaobai's heart skipped a beat. That young master was very tall, and he was wearing a black cloak. I couldn't see his face, but he was very good to that girl. He used his arms to protect her, just like he was protecting his lover. Lu Wanting blinked as she spoke. Really? How can you be sure that the girl you're talking about is the person I'm looking for? Chu Xiaobai looked at her with doubt. Young master, the girl you're looking for is wearing a light green robe like me. Her eyes are big, black, and bright. That's right, I also heard that black-clothed young master call her. Call her. That's right, call her Ning. Lu Wanting spoke as if it was true, making it seem more and more like it was true. Chu Xiaobai was pleasantly surprised as he said in a trembling voice, "Then how long have you seen them go? Which direction did they go?" "It's in that direction." Lu Wanting pointed in a direction. Chu Xiaobai looked in the direction she pointed and only saw people moving around. Where could he see Chun Ning's figure? As for that tall black-clothed man, he didn't see a single one of them. But he already had an idea in his heart. He knew that the man Lu Wanting was talking about was Mo Chuan. He couldn't help letting out a sigh of relief as he thought. So she really left with him. But couldn't she have waited for him and told him about it? Didn't she know how worried and anxious he was when she left like this? Just now, he almost jumped into the river to look for her. I understand. Thank you, miss." Chu Xiaobai nodded to Lu Wanting. He held the two boxes in his arms and slowly walked off the stone bridge. His heart was filled with pain, but he couldn't describe it. He already knew that she didn't belong to him, but was he going to snatch away the happiness of being by her side? When she saw Mo Chuan, there was no trace of him in her heart, so she completely forgot about him. She even forgot to take the gift she won with her, because she didn't care about these things at all. The man she liked was the emperor. What could she not have? He knew that as long as she wanted it, the emperor would think of a way to get it for her. However, these things were very precious to him, because every single one of them left behind her smile. As long as he saw these little things, he would recall this day, and he would not be willing to lose any of them. Chapter 584. She didn't even know who the girl he was looking for was. What she said just now was all nonsense, and he actually believed it. Humph, he was the person she liked. She would not allow him to have a second woman in his heart. Her eyes turned, and she chased after Chu Xiaobai. Young master, wait for me. She chased after him. Chu Xiaobai did not hear her at all. Only when Lu Wanting grabbed his sleeve did he turn around. Seeing that it was her, he knit his brows again. He wanted to pull his sleeve out of her hand, but she tightly held on to it. Miss, do you have something else? Young master, you're just going to leave like this? Lu Wanting bit her lips and revealed a delicate and timid look. Leave? I don't want to leave, but if she leaves, what meaning is there for me to stay here? Chu Xiaobai's heart was filled with pain, not answering her question. His eyes did not focus on the sea of people. There were still many people at the Lantern Festival, but the person he wanted to see the most was not there. At this moment, she should be watching the lanterns with her most beloved person, right? Everyone was in pairs, beaming with joy. Only he was alone, dejected and dejected. Young master, please wait for me. Lu Wanting saw him turn around and run away, so she quickly chased after him. This little girl has a presumptuous request. I hope young master can agree to it. What presumptuous request? Chu Xiaobai did not turn around, but his voice was filled with impatience. Young master, this little girl's home is very far from here, and I'm alone. It's already late, so this little girl is afraid. I want young master to send this little girl off. Is that all right? Lu Wanting pitifully looked up at Chu Xiaobai. Chu Xiaobai's heart filled with annoyance. His eyes turned cold as he said, This young master does not have time. Young master, on account of this little girl telling you where that girl is, can young master help this little girl this time? This little girl is afraid of meeting those strong people again. Since young master has saved me once, this is the so-called saving a person to the end. Does young master have the heart to see this little girl fall into the hands of strong people again? Lu Wanting's eyes were filled with tears as she spoke in a soft voice. Adding in the dim moonlight and the intoxicating light, there was no man in this world that could bear to reject this little girl's request. Chu Xiaobai's heart skipped a beat. Of course, he was not moved by Lu Wanting's beauty, but rather when she said, saving a person to the end. Thinking of those fierce East Qin men, his heart filled with righteous indignation. If this delicate girl were to fall into the hands of those burly men, only death would await her. If this delicate girl in front of him fell into the hands of those men, there would be no other way. Lu Wanting's heart was filled with joy, but her face was very dignified. She took 2 steps back and maintained a certain distance from Chu Xiaobai before replying. Many thanks, young master. This little girl's home is on the South Gates, Riyang Lane. Auspicious Sun Lane? Chu Xiaobai thought about it. Isn't that Imperial Censor Lu's palace? Chapter 585. Her attire was just right. It was not flashy, but it was not simple either. It was the style of a young lady from a large family. Lu Wanting shyly nodded. This little girl is surnamed Lu. When young master sends me back to the palace, my father will heavily reward young master and repay young master for saving this little girl's life. Her words were also a test. She wanted to see if Chu Xiaobai's attitude towards her would change because of her status. If Chu Xiaobai revealed even the slightest bit of flattery, she would look down on him. Who would have thought that Chu Xiaobai's expression would not change at all? It was still that cold and indifferent, like he was 1,000 miles away from her. He only gave a slight nod. So it's Miss Lu. There was nothing else after that. Lu Wanting was both happy and disappointed. She bit her lips as she followed 3 steps behind Chu Xiaobai. While walking, she was thinking about this white-clothed youth's background. She had asked for Chu Xiaobai's name before, but Chu Xiaobai ignored her, so she was too embarrassed to ask again. But if she didn't know the other side's identity, how could she see him again? His expression clearly showed that he had no intentions towards her. So how could she make him pay attention to her? Young master, are you also someone from the capital city? She tried to find a topic to talk about. Actually, when she heard Chu Xiaobai's pure accent, She knew that the other side was also someone from the capital city. Chu Xiaobai did not turn around and just gave a cold unsound. If it wasn't for him giving her father Imperial Censor Lu face, he wouldn't have even given this unsound. Lu Wanting was a bit stuck. She was an unmarried young girl and had taken the initiative to talk to him several times, but he either didn't answer her question or ignored her. This made her proud young girl heart feel very hurt. If she kept trying to find a topic to talk about, she would seem too unreserved and too shameless. She was also very proud and had always been flattered in the palms of others. If it wasn't for her admiration for him, she would not have taken this lying down. The two of them walked, one in front and one in the back. They were both thinking about their own thoughts, and no one said a word. Chu Xiaobai did not want to say a single word to her. Hearing that she finally closed her mouth and did not say anything, he was happy to have some peace of mind. He just wanted to send her home as soon as possible, letting go of this responsibility. There's a snake. Suddenly, Lu Wanting's shocked cry came from behind him. Chu Xiaobai quickly turned around and came to Lu Wanting's side, asking, "Where is the snake?" They were walking in a rather dark alley. There was only a dim lantern hanging in front of the door of a house not far away, and the light was extremely dim. He looked around several times, but he did not see a single snake in the area. He saw Lu Wanting pointing at a rope hanging from a wall with an apologetic expression. She said in a soft voice, "I saw wrong. It's not a snake, it's a rope." Chu Xiaobai could not help staring at before turning around. Lu Wanting let out an "I-O" sound. He turned around and saw her bending over, rubbing her ankle with a painful expression on her face. "Sorry, I sprained my ankle." She didn't wait for him to speak and said apologetically, "But it doesn't matter. I can continue walking." She stood up and limped to catch up with him. Chu Xiaobai ignored her and continued walking forward. However, he heard the footsteps behind him getting slower and slower. Eventually, he could no longer hear them. Chapter 586. Young Master, I really can't walk anymore. It's all my fault, dragging the young master down. This place is not far from my home, so if the young master has something to do, please go ahead. I'll rest here for a bit and go back by myself. Lu Wanting knew that if she begged, the other side would ignore her, so she decided to take a step back. She thought that there was no man in this world that would have the heart to leave an injured and weak girl like her in this dark alley. This was especially true for this elegant young master dressed in white. He had saved her out of righteous indignation, so he would not abandon her. She was indeed very smart, and her heart was very good at scheming against people. After Chu Xiaobai heard her words, his expression was indeed touched as he walked over to her. He stopped in front of her and looked down at her. "Your foot. Is it serious?" Lu Wanting looked down as she rubbed her ankle. In a soft voice, she said, "It's all right, it's just very painful. Young master, you don't need to care about me. I've already troubled young master enough. You should leave first." She silently waited for Chu Xiaobai's next words. "Then I'll carry you." Her heart was beating fast. This was a good plan that she had spent a long time thinking of. She had to grab this chance no matter what. As long as he was willing to carry her, she would follow him for the rest of her life. Who would have thought that after waiting for a while, Chu Xiaobai would not say anything? She looked up and looked at him with a loving gaze. Her lips parted. "Young master." Before she finished, Chu Xiaobai nodded and said, "All right. Since it's like this, I'll be leaving first." Lu Wanting was stunned, almost not daring to believe her ears. "You?" She just spat out a single word when she saw Chu Xiaobai's figure flash. Like a white lotus, he disappeared from her eyes. This. How is this possible? He actually left her, a weak girl, all alone in this dark alley in the middle of winter. Lu Wanting's face turned incomparably pale as she looked around with eyes filled with fear. That dark shadow was like a ghost baring its fangs. She was so scared that her body began to tremble. Her hands hugged her shoulders, and she tightly buried her head in her chest. She was filled with regret right now. Why did she think of such a bad idea? In the end, She did not get close to the other side and was dumped. If she knew it would be like this, she would not have done anything. She would have obediently followed behind the white-clothed young master. Perhaps she would have already returned to her familiar room, returning to her parents' warm embrace. A cold wind blew from an unknown corner, bringing with it a rotten smell. When she smelled it, she almost vomited. Woo 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 woo. She couldn't bear it any longer. Tears flowed out of her eyes, and she began to sob. The current in her heart was filled with pain and fear, completely different from the acting she had in front of Chu Xiao. Suddenly, she heard chaotic footsteps coming from the entrance of the alley. It seemed like many people were running in this direction. Flames flickered, and these people were even holding torches high up in their hands. Lu Lu TTS. I Lu Woot T's words. Lu. Lu 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 T. Lu 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 T Tai. She. She wanted. She quickly. She. Young miss. The crowd rushed into the alley with torches in their hands, shouting loudly. Chapter 587. Father, your daughter is here. She was pleasantly surprised. She stood up and ran towards the fire. Looking over, she saw that it was the Lu Palace's servants and guards, and the one walking in front was Imperial Censor Lu. She threw herself into Imperial Censor Lu's embrace and cried in a very sad manner. Wanner, why are you so disobedient? Father didn't let you see the lanterns, so you sneaked out by yourself. What if something happened to you? Wait until we return home and see how your father will punish you. Although Imperial Censor Lu felt sorry for his daughter, he still fiercely reprimanded her. Lu Wanting looked down in grievance as tears kept falling. She now understood what had happened. It must have been that white-clothed young master who told her family where she was. That was why Imperial Censor Lu was able to find her so quickly. Her heart was very complex. She didn't know if she was grateful or resentful towards Chu Xiaobai. She heard Imperial Censor Lu say, "It's a good thing you met King Jing in this time. If you sneak out again, do you think you will have this kind of luck again?" King Jing and Lu Wanting blinked and pulled her father's hand. Father, the King Jing you're talking about, is he a white-clothed young master? What? You don't know who he is? Then why did he send you back? Imperial Censor Lu stared at her. Your daughter really doesn't know who he is, but he saved your daughter and sent your daughter home. Your daughter asked for his name and wanted to thank him, but he was not willing to tell me. Lu Wanting lowered her head and replied. Her voice was filled with joy that she could not suppress as flowers bloomed in her heart. King Jing'an. So he was King Jing in Chu Xiaobai, the legendary number 1 young master of the capital city. He was young and charming, causing countless girls to fall for him. She never thought that she would have this kind of fortuitous encounter, meeting him and being saved by him. Could this be her Red Luan Star movement? Thank you. He is the respected King Jing and a member of the royal family. How could he care about your thanks? Even your father doesn't know what kind of gift to give him. You've met a noble person this time. Lu Wanting lowered her head without saying a word, but her lips slightly curled up. Asterisk Chu Xiaobai came out of the Lu Palace and went straight to the royal palace. He was still a bit worried and prepared to ask Zhui Feng about the emperor's whereabouts. However, just as he turned a corner, he heard the sound of wind behind him. Then, a gray-clothed figure appeared in front of him and cupped his fists. Chu Xiaobai saw this and was filled with joy. When Chu Xiaobai saw this, he was pleasantly surprised. He called out, Zhui Feng, why are you here? This king was looking for you. Zhui Feng's face slightly froze as he said, Your Highness, the emperor has summoned you. Chu Xiaobai gave a bitter laugh and said, Emperor, why would your majesty have time to see me at this time? Your Highness, you should know what you have done. This subordinate didn't think that a righteous person like your Highness would say one thing and do another. Zhui Feng curled his lips and said in a sarcastic manner. Chu Xiaobai immediately raised his brows and coldly looked at Zhui Feng. Zhui Feng, you are becoming bolder and bolder, daring to speak to this king like this. Feng, your Shao, yes, Chun to say Chun King. Speak clearly, what did this king do? Chapter 588. Chu Shao Bai's face instantly sunk. That's right, she was brought out by this king, but she was taken away by the emperor. When she left, she did not even leave a single word behind. This king almost went crazy looking for her. Does the emperor think this punishment is not enough? Does he want to bring this king back to be beaten 80 times? Zhou Feng lowered his head. This subordinate heard your highness' words that night and respected and admired your highness. But I never thought that in just a day, you would do this kind of thing. You've miserably tricked this subordinate. Now that the emperor has found out, I ask your highness to hand over the person. Chu Shao Bai's heart skipped a beat as he asked, hand over the person? Hand over what person? Are you saying that she's not with his majesty? Your highness, since you dare to do this, why don't you dare admit it? You said that she was taken away by the emperor, but this subordinate thinks that she was hidden by your highness, right? This subordinate has always been by the emperor's side. If it was the emperor who took away the princess consort, why would this subordinate need to find your highness for her? Zhou Feng looked up with a serious expression. Chu Shao Bai's heart began to wildly beat. He felt his mouth go dry and his heart turn into a sea of flames, but his back was covered in a cold sweat. Then you're saying that she isn't with the emperor? It wasn't the emperor who took her away? Then why does she disappear? That Miss Liu clearly said that she saw a tall black-clothed man with her. Could it be that she was lying to me? His mind was in chaos as he stood there in a daze. He suddenly gave a loud shout and ran back. Zhou Feng was shocked and quickly followed. He asked, Your Highness, where are you going? The emperor is waiting for you. Chu Shao Bai's mind was in chaos as he blurted out, I'm going to find her. I want to ask her clearly. Who are you looking for? Chu Shao Bai suddenly stopped moving. Even if he found Lu Wanting, what could he do? What if the other side insisted that what she saw was true? Perhaps he had guessed wrong, and the black-clothed man that took her away was not the emperor? Zhou Feng, quickly report to the emperor. She has been taken away. She is gone. He turned around and grabbed Zhou Feng's wrist. Zhou Feng suspiciously looked at him. Your Highness, this subordinate feels that you should hand the princess consort over. Last time you took the princess consort away, the emperor not punishing you was already very merciful. Since you already know the truth, why are you doing this? Chu Shao Bai's chest was filled with blood. His fingers exerted strength, and Zhou Feng's bones began to crack as he said, I didn't. Zhou Feng, isn't your tracking technique unparalleled in the world? Help me find her. You can definitely find her. Zhou Feng felt like his wrist was about to break as he grimaced in pain. Your Highness, let go, let go. If you break this subordinate's wrist, how will this subordinate find him? Chu Shao Zhui's S let, but his S Chu. Chen Shao Bai's SSZ, but in his and... Your Highness, when and where did you discover that the princess consort was missing? He asked. Not long ago, on a stone bridge. Chu Shao Bai quickly explained the situation and then said, the entire process took less than half a cup of tea's time. When I looked up, I couldn't see her anymore. This subordinate wants to go take a look at the bridge. Chapter 589. Chu Xiaobai did not say another word as he quickly brought Zhou Feng back to the stone bridge. The river under the bridge was vast, and there were lanterns filled with hope floating in the water, but there was no one on the bridge. She was standing here at the time. When I was fighting below, she even gave me a faint smile. Chu Xiaobai thought back to the scene, and his heart filled with pain. Zhou Feng nodded, but he did not say anything. He first walked back and forth several times on the stone bridge before lying down on the ground. Only his 4 limbs were on the ground, like a lizard, looking very strange. Chu Xiaobai did not laugh at him. He knew that Zhou Feng's tracking skills were unparalleled in the world, but this was the first time he had seen him use this skill in front of him. He saw Zhou Feng lying on the ground, crawling inch by inch, almost covering half of the stone bridge. He looked very carefully, not missing a single crack in the stone. Then, he jumped up from the ground, and his expression became solemn. Your Highness, you're right. The princess consort, she has indeed been taken away by someone. This subordinate has looked carefully and only saw traces of the princess consort coming, but not traces of her leaving. This means that she did not leave willingly and was taken away by someone else. Chu Xiaobai anxiously said, then quickly chase after her. Where did she go? We need to go save her immediately. Zhou Feng shook his head and said in a dejected voice, this subordinate has not found anything yet, but there is one thing I'm sure of. This person took the princess consort away and did not leave a single trace. His qinggong must be very good, not below ours. Chu Xiaobai's heart sank. He blankly said, if even you can't find her, then who can find her? He suddenly forcefully clenched his fist and angrily said, it's him. I think it must be third brother. I'm going to ask third brother. Zhou Feng quickly pulled him back. Your Highness, please calm down. This matter might not be done by King Ding Yuan. Even if King Ding Yuan really took the princess consort away, that is also, he found it a bit hard to say, but Chu Xiaobai naturally understood his meaning. That's right, even if third brother really took her away, what could he do? Because she was his third brother's princess, not his. What qualifications did he have to question his third brother? Ask his third brother for her? But are we just going to let third brother take her away like this? Third brother, he will definitely imprison her and not give her freedom. Chu Xiaobai tightly grasped his chest, feeling like his heart was about to crack. He wanted to give her freedom and happiness, but he never thought that he would send her into a cage, making her lose the freedom she wanted forever. Zhou Feng did not say anything. He closed his eyes and walked back and forth on the stone bridge twice before suddenly stopping. Your Highness, this subordinate feels that this matter might not be done by King Ding Yuan. He suddenly said, if it wasn't him, who else could it be? Chu Xiaobai angrily said as he stared at Zhou Feng. Why are you speaking for him? Zhou Feng said. Zhou Feng nodded and said, this subordinate did find something different, but I am not sure. This subordinate can only use another method to see if I can find the whereabouts of the princess. Feng, Your Highness, do you have anything that the princess consort has used on you? Feng, hey. Chapter 590. Zhou Feng revealed a slightly embarrassed look. This subordinate has a use for it. Chu Xiaobai looked at him with a doubtful gaze. He took out the mirror from his chest and gave it to him. This mirror was left behind by her not long ago. Zhou Feng reached out to take it and placed it in front of his nose to take a few deep sniffs. Chu Xiaobai's heart filled with anger seeing this, and he took the mirror back. Stinky brat, what are you doing? This mirror had been placed in her chest before and still had her fragrance on it. Zhou Feng's actions were simply frivolous, so it was no wonder he was angry. Zhou Feng's face turned red, and he explained, Your Highness has wronged this subordinate. This subordinate is not a frivolous person. This subordinate just wanted to smell the princess consort's scent and then find her whereabouts. Smell? Do you think you're a dog? Chu Xiaobai stared at him. Zhou Feng said in a deep voice, If Your Highness doesn't believe me, this subordinate has nothing to say. He took out a black cloth from his chest and covered his eyes. Then he took a few deep sniffs and began to walk in a certain direction. Chu Xiaobai was surprised and couldn't help following behind Zhou Feng. Although Zhou Feng was blindfolded, his footsteps became faster and faster. It was like he was seeing with his eyes, not hitting any obstacles at all. Moreover, he used his qinggong and moved very fast. Only while he was walking, he kept taking deep breaths. He really looked like a dog. Chu Xiaobai silently criticized him, but his face did not reveal anything. He knew that Zhou Feng's tracking ability was strange, but he never thought it would be this strange. He now understood why Zhou Feng could accurately find his whereabouts after being hit by 2 thunderbolt eggs. So it was like this. He silently followed behind Zhou Feng, not making a sound to disturb him. Your Highness, They should have left the city. Zhue Feng stopped at the foot of the city wall. He pulled down the black cloth over his eyes and looked up at the tall city wall. With this kind of height, no matter how good their qigong was, no one could jump up, not to mention they were carrying a person. Unless it was a bird. Left the city? What are we waiting for? Keep chasing, Chu Xiaobai said. He took a deep breath and jumped up. His left foot tapped on the city wall, and he used the momentum to jump up. When he reached the top of the city wall, his right foot tapped on the city wall. After doing this 3 times, he reached the top of the city wall. Your Highness has good qigong. Zhue Feng gave a word of praise and also climbed up the city wall. Only his martial arts were completely different from Chu Xiaobai's. He used his hands and feet to grab onto the wall, quickly moving like a giant spider. He could move very fast and did not make a single sound. Even Chu Xiaobai couldn't help admiring him when he saw this. Zhue Feng. Others practice the gecko wall climbing technique, but I didn't expect your spider wall climbing technique to be 10 times better than the gecko. Zhue Feng's face turned red, and he blushed as he said, Your Highness, stop teasing this subordinate. He Feng's face and then said, Zhue Feng, Zhue Feng's Feng. The two of them used their qigong and went down the wall. This time Zhue Feng used his spider wall climbing technique. When he landed, he covered his eyes with a black cloth and ran to the left. Chu followed behind. Feng time for long for Feng. Feng, Feng, Xiao, Z. Feng and Feng followed. Chu, Sha, Chu to Feng. Of. This is the Imperial Palace's courtyard. Chu Xiaobai looked at the building in front of him in a daze. Then he glared at Zhue Feng and said through gritted teeth, Zhue Feng. Zhue Feng was also stunned, with a look of disbelief on his face. Chapter 591. The truth is in front of you. What else do you need to say? You think it's very interesting to play tricks on this king like this, right? Zhue Feng, this king never thought that you would lie to me with the emperor playing around with me. Seeing me run around like a fool, it's very interesting, isn't it? Chu Xiaobai became angrier the more he spoke, and the veins on his forehead popped out. He thought of the worry, anxiety, sadness, and regret he felt tonight. All sorts of emotions had tortured him to the point of going crazy, but he never thought that it was someone else playing tricks on him. A sense of humiliation from being deceived and fooled overwhelmed him. He angrily stared at Zhue Feng, wishing he could make 2 holes in Zhue Feng's face. Zhue Feng was stunned as he stuttered. No, it's not like this. Your Highness, listen to this subordinate's explanation. It really isn't like this. The Emperor. He could not continue. If he said that it wasn't the Emperor who took the princess away, he would not believe it. This was clearly the other courtyard of the royal palace. It was one of the Emperor's favorite places. There was a natural hot spring here, and whenever the Emperor was in a mess, he liked to come here to soak in the hot spring. Zhue Feng, if you say another word, do you believe that this king won't kill you? Chu Xiaobai said word for word. Zhue Feng tightly closed his mouth. Chu Xiaobai looked up and took a deep look at the other courtyard. His heart was sour, filled with sorrow, and filled with bitterness. He did not say a single word as he turned to leave. Your Highness. Zhue Feng wanted to call out to him, but he only said 2 words before closing his mouth. He couldn't help secretly blaming the Emperor in his heart. Master, Master, if you want to play tricks on King Jing'an, you shouldn't lie to this subordinate as well. This subordinate has always been loyal to you, never having second thoughts. Playing tricks on this subordinate like this, is that really good? No wonder Chu Xiaobai was so angry that his nose became crooked and he waved his sleeve to leave. Even his heart was filled with anger and injustice. He stared at him and also wanted to leave, but thinking about it, he couldn't leave. Even if his master played tricks on him 100 times, he was still his master, and he was his master's secret guard. Wherever his master was, he would be there. Zhue Feng gave a sigh and jumped over the wall in resignation. Who would have thought that before his feet touched the ground, he would suddenly feel danger coming from the shadows? This is bad. His heart went on high alert, and he wanted to dodge, but it was too late. He felt several cold fingers grabbing his neck, making it hard for him to breathe. The fingers heavily poked his body, and he could not move at all. Damn of him, he had been ambushed. Zhou Feng's heart was filled with anger and anxiety. He forcefully opened his eyes, wanting to see who the person sneak attacking him was. He only saw a tall man in black with a large black cloak draped over him from head to toe. In addition, in the dark night, he couldn't see the man's face at all. He could only see a pair of gleaming, cold eyes. The pair of emotionless eyes looked at his face and then threw him into the corner like a piece of trash. The black cloak was like a butterfly in the dark night, fluttering a few times before disappearing in the direction of the backyard. Zhou Feng was furious, gritting his teeth as he cursed in his heart. Zoff! How dare you launch a sneak attack? What kind of hero are you? Unfortunately, his acupoints were sealed, so he couldn't say a single word. Chapter 592. This was because this courtyard was built in the forest on the outskirts and was built for this hot spring. Other than the emperor, only a few of the emperor's trusted aides knew about this place. There were no guards, maids, or eunuchs here because every time the emperor came here, he just wanted to have a quiet rest and did not like outsiders disturbing him. So Zhou Feng never would have dreamed that he would meet an enemy in his own territory. Enemy. That's right, this person was definitely an enemy, and Zhou Feng was sure that this black-clothed man was not the emperor. He had followed the emperor for many years, so he knew the emperor's body like the back of his hand. In terms of height, this black-clothed man was similar to the emperor, but his body was much taller. Moreover, his body temperature was very low. When those 5 fingers grabbed his neck, he almost thought they were the claws of a ghost, being bone-chilling. Zhou Feng fell to the ground. Although his body did not move, his mind was in a mess as all kinds of thoughts filled his mind. Who was this black-clothed man that suddenly made a move? Why did he want to restrain him? If he really was an enemy, why didn't he just kill him? If the princess consort was really brought here by the emperor, then where did this black-clothed man come from? He wouldn't be here to assassinate the emperor, right? Suddenly, he thought of a large possibility. If it wasn't for the fact that he couldn't move his lips, he would have cried out in shock. Wrong. They were all wrong. The one who brought the princess consort was not the emperor, but rather this black-clothed man. He and King Jing were both wrong. Zhou Feng loudly shouted in his heart. When they saw the royal family's courtyard, they thought that this matter was related to the emperor. In fact, he had always been by the emperor's side, so he knew that the emperor did not have the time and would not be so bored as to play this kind of joke with King Jingen. It was a pity that no matter how loud the voice in his heart was, Chu Xiaobai had already walked far away and could not hear it anymore. Asterisk after the black-clothed man restrained Zhou Feng, he listened carefully. When he heard that there were no sounds outside, he immediately ran into the back courtyard. He seemed to be very familiar with the terrain here and quickly arrived in front of a tall wall of trees. There was a sulfuric smell in the air, and steam was rising above the wall of trees. Behind it was a natural hot spring. He passed through the wall of trees and came to the side of the pool. On the stone bed by the side of the pool, there was a green-clothed young girl lying there. There were several peach blossom trees by the side of the pool, and there were 2 lanterns hanging from the branches. The dim light of the lanterns shined onto the young girl's face. Her acupuncture point had been sealed by the black-clothed man, and she could not move at all, but her clear eyes were wide open as she stared at the black-clothed man. On the stone bridge, this black-clothed man had suddenly appeared beside her, but she hadn't noticed him at all. She only felt a chill invading her body. Just as she shivered, she discovered that there was a cold arm around her waist. It was cold and hard, as if it was carved from stone. Then, her acupuncture points were sealed, and she fell into an icy embrace. Pa! The glass mirror slipped from her arms and fell to the ground. Chapter 593. The black-clothed man suddenly came and suddenly left. The entire process happened in the blink of an eye, so no one noticed it at all. Even Chu Xiao, who was not far away from the stone bridge, did not hear anything. When the mirror fell to the ground, the surrounding citizens erupted into thunderous cheers. Chen Ning was held in the black-clothed man's embrace, and she could feel a chill coming from the man's body, making her teeth chatter. But the man's running speed was faster than a galloping horse. He was steady and fast, so she did not feel any shock at all. However, her entire body was covered by a black cloak, and her vision was pitch black. She had no idea where this mysterious person was taking her, nor what his purpose was. She could only judge one thing. The person holding her was a tall and burly man, and his body temperature was very low, completely surpassing a normal person's body temperature. After an unknown amount of time, the black-clothed man finally stopped. She could smell the familiar smell of sulfur. Then, her eyes suddenly lit up. The black-clothed man shook off his cloak and placed her on a stone couch. She turned her eyes and looked at the familiar scenery in front of her. There was a familiar smell in the air, and she knew where she was. This was the palace courtyard that Mo Chuan had brought her to before. But this black-clothed man was definitely not Mo Chuan. Why did he bring her here? Who was he? The black-clothed man took off his cloak, revealing a black, tight-fitting outfit that made his figure even more muscular and beautiful. The dim red light shone on his face, revealing his chiseled facial features. He had a pair of eyes that were as sharp as an eagle's. When he looked at people, his gaze was cold and fierce, but his body also carried a free and unrestrained aura. When people saw him, they would think of a handsome eagle soaring in the sky. This was a man like an eagle, but he was also a complete stranger. Chen Ning was certain that she had never seen him before. As long as she had seen a person once, she would never forget them. The black-clothed man stood in front of her, looking down at her. His eagle eyes did not even blink. Her eyes were clear and bright, like a clear spring. When they looked at each other, he could almost see his own reflection in her eyes. He had kidnapped her like this. If it was another girl, they would have already fainted from fright, but he did not see a single trace of fear on her face. Her eyes were still as beautiful as the first time he saw them. The black-clothed man rubbed his chin and looked over her. This girl was too strange. She was as delicate as a flower that could be blown away by the wind, but the feeling she gave him was like a bamboo that could not be bent. Interesting, truly interesting. He tilted his head and thought for a bit before releasing her acupuncture point. Hey, little girl, why aren't you afraid of me? He deliberately opened his eyes and revealed a fierce look. In reality, even when he didn't speak or move, his body still carried a piercingly cold aura that would make people shudder. Everyone who saw him didn't dare to look directly into his eyes. They couldn't help but lower their heads and shiver in front of him. This girl was an exception. After he asked, of his mind, he was looking at her eyes. Chapter 594. She only glanced at him with her clear, black eyes, and then closed them. The black-clothed man was stunned. He thought that she did not understand his words, so he loudly said it again. This feeling of being ignored made him feel very uncomfortable. What he did not know was that Chen Ning was too lazy to reply to this kind of pointless question. She only needed to look at the black-clothed man to know that he did not have any killing intent towards her. His eyes were filled with curiosity and interest. She closed her eyes and quickly thought of a way to escape. She had already guessed this mysterious man's identity, but she did not know why he would kidnap her and bring her to this place. Who are you? Why did you bring me here? What is your goal? What do you want? Chen Ning suddenly opened her eyes. With a clear voice, she asked a series of questions. The man was stunned for a second before revealing a smile. He revealed a row of snow-white teeth that contrasted with his light, wheat-colored skin, making him look very dazzling and beautiful. His facial features were cold and hard, but when he smiled, the lines of his face became gentle. It made people's eyes light up, as if they were looking at the clear sky or the sun rising over the prairies. His smile was bright and straightforward. It was like he was a completely different person from when he didn't smile. This was the first time Ning had seen a person change this much just because of a smile. It was a pity that his smile only lasted for a few seconds before disappearing. He quickly began to take off his clothes. Ning was stunned. What did he want to do? The man in black quickly took off his black tight-fitting shirt, revealing his muscular arms. On his sturdy chest, there was an indigo tattoo of a majestic goshawk spreading its wings and flying. After taking off his shirt, he took off his belt and took off his pants. Ning's acupuncture point had been sealed, so the only things she could move were her eyes and mouth. Ro, she secretly cursed in her heart. She tightly closed her eyes and mouth, but her heart was in her throat. She heard a plop sound, and then warm water splashed onto her face. The man had actually jumped into the hot spring pool. She finally understood that he was taking off his clothes to jump into the hot spring to take a bath. Miss, the water here is very warm. Do you want to take a bath together? The man poked his head out of the water, revealing a pair of sparkling eyes. His eyes were still sharp, but his expression was very satisfied. He tilted his head back and leaned against the edge of the hot spring. His entire body was submerged in the water, only revealing a deep face above the water. Ning did not even look at him. She thought that at this time, Xiaobai would definitely discover that she was missing. He would definitely be looking for her everywhere. However, he would never have thought that she would be kidnapped here. That's right, Zhue Feng. He would definitely find Zhue Feng to look for her whereabouts. But could Zhue Feng find her? She faintly felt a trace of hope. Although this black-clothed man did not have any killing intent toward her, it did not mean that he had any good intentions towards her. That man did not get Ning's reply, but he was not angry. He opened his throat and began to sing. It was very clear that his mood was very good and he was very relaxed. His voice was deep and powerful, with an indescribable magnetism to it. The melody of the song was very beautiful, but Ning could not understand the meaning of the lyrics. Chapter 595. In the endless blue sky, there was an eagle flying. Its chest was filled with ambition and hope, longing to charge into the sun. She had never heard such a primitive, natural, and vivid song. The beautiful song made the night sky light up. Unknowingly, she was lost in thought. Her heart also flew to the grassland and soared together with the goshawk. Is my song good, Un? The man's voice suddenly rang in her ear. It was so close that his hot breath blew directly into her ear, causing her to feel a chill down her spine. She abruptly opened her eyes, and what she saw was a pair of enlarged, bright, and piercing black eyes. His eyes were wild and sharp, with a trace of pride and wildness. He was like a cheetah in the forest, his body releasing a dangerous aura. Ning found out that she had fallen into a daze listening to his song. She didn't even know when he came out of the pool, when he put on his clothes, or when he came to her side. She didn't want to answer his question, but after thinking about it, she seriously replied, "Your song is very good. Although I don't understand the meaning of the lyrics, I can see the sun on the prairie and the eagle flying in the sky." The man's eyes lit up, and he opened his mouth again. He gave a clear laugh, and the sharp haze in his eyes disappeared. "You actually understood it. Ha ha, good, very good. I'm very happy." He sat down in front of her and said with a smile, "I'll sing another song for you." After saying this, he did not wait for her to speak before he began to sing. This time, his voice was completely different from last time. It was deeper than last time, but also gentler and more beautiful. It was as if he was whispering and murmuring. The whole tune was filled with a lingering feeling that could seep into one's bones. It was lingering and mellow, causing one to be involuntarily intoxicated. She listened for a while and felt her heart speed up. Her cheeks unknowingly turned red. Every word of this song was filled with affection. Could it be that he was pouring out his heart to her? But she did not know him at all. As the man sang, he slowly approached her. He stared at her without blinking and saw a faint blush appear on her face. His eyes became gentle and intoxicated, and he no longer had that sense of strangeness and alienation. He couldn't help feeling proud in his heart. It had to be known that he was famous for his golden voice. His singing could be considered one of the best in the world, but there were very few people that could hear him sing. The love song he sang was filled with sorrow, enough to move the heart of any girl in the world. There had never been an exception, never. So he had absolute confidence that he could make this girl in front of him infatuated with him. His mouth was singing a gentle love song, and his face revealed a look of longing. His eyes were filled with passion as he slowly moved closer to her and touched her face. "Be my woman." His deep voice sounded like he was singing a love song. The surroundings were so quiet. The wind blew gently, and the petals that were blown down slowly floated in the air. They slowly fell into the pond and landed on the bodies of the two people, bringing with them bursts of fragrance. Chen-Ning suddenly opened her eyes. Her eyes were as clear as water, bright and clear, instantly looking into his eyes. Chapter 596. The man's smile froze in his eyes. His eyes turned sharp, and he said in a sharp voice, "What did you say? What crown prince?" Chen-Ning coldly looked at him. She put away her smile and closed her eyes. The man's large hand grabbed her chin, and he shouted again, "What do you know? Who are you?" She opened her eyes and looked right at him. "Your Highness, we meet again. Although you were masked last time, I knew it was you. Honest people don't do shady things. So since I recognized you, why don't you have the courage to admit it? Could it be that the East Sheen Crown Prince is famous, but you don't even have the courage to admit your identity?" "You." The man was stunned by her words. He raised his thick eyebrows, and a sharp sense of danger enveloped her body once again. "You really are bold. Are you not afraid of this prince silencing you?" He said in a deep voice as killing intent flashed in his eyes. "Of course I'm not afraid," she casually replied. He was stunned. "What did you say? You're not afraid? Do you really think this prince doesn't dare kill you? Let me tell you, this prince is not a person who has tender feelings for the fairer sex." His fingers slowly moved down and fell onto her slender neck, slowly tightening. She directly closed her eyes and did not say another word. The East Sheen Crown Prince was stunned again. He indeed had killing intent towards her, but he did not want to kill her immediately. It was like a cat catching a mouse. If he didn't play to his heart's content, how could he bear to let her die like this? But he found that she was not afraid of death at all and was not afraid of him. It wasn't that Chen-Ning was not afraid of death, but she would rather die than be humiliated by this man. "As long as you tell me how you recognize this prince won't kill you. I'll forgive you and let you go." The East Sheen Crown Prince slowly released his fingers from her neck. "Will your Highness keep your words?" She raised her eyelashes. "This prince's words are as good as gold. Then unseal my acupuncture point first, and I'll tell you." "All right." He was very straightforward as he directly unsealed her acupuncture point. She was a weak little girl who did not know martial arts, so she could not escape his palm no matter what. But since he could think of it, Chen-Ning could also think of it. She knew that she could not escape, but she did not want to lie there like a cripple, being bullied by others. Once her acupuncture point was unsealed, she immediately sat up and moved a bit further away from the East Sheen Crown Prince. The East Sheen Crown Prince revealed a smile, revealing his white teeth. He was laughing at her unnecessary actions. If he wanted to use force on her, why did he have to wait until now? He could do whatever he wanted. However, he was proud of his identity and was never willing to force others. This kind of thing would only be fun if the other party was willing. "The first time I saw you, I knew you weren't a West Chu citizen because the first thing you said when you saw me was Kubisimilita. That was your first reaction, and you spoke the language you were most familiar with. If my guess isn't wrong, you spoke the East Chin language, and your next words were, 'Tell me, who are you?' Although you immediately changed and spoke in West country, I say I. Chen-Ning looked at him and spoke in a calm voice. Chapter 597. I know you still want to ask me how I know the masked person was you. I think your highness will not forget that I bit your finger that day. It was in this position. Your highness also has this wound on your finger. It can't be a coincidence, right? Chen Ning's eyes swept over his finger. That's not a coincidence, right? Chen Ning's eyes swept over his finger. Your eyes are quite powerful. The East Qin Crown Prince did not deny it. The other reason is that I know the East Qin envoys have arrived in the capital, and the two songs your highness sang just now were clearly not songs from my West Chu country. The first song was about the vastness of the prairies, and only those who have personally seen the prairies and live in the prairies can understand the meaning of the sky being vast and the grass being blown by the wind. East Qin is a country of the prairies, so if I couldn't guess your identity after hearing this song, wouldn't I be too stupid? The East Qin Crown Prince couldn't help nodding and saying, "That's right, you are indeed smarter than normal people, but you can only guess that I am from the East Qin country. How did you know that I am the Crown Prince? Could it be that your West Shu already knew that this Crown Prince would come to the capital?" His eyes filled with killing intent once again. How was this hard to guess? Although I'm only a little girl, I have heard of your highness' illustrious name. There are East Qin people kidnapping young girls under the stone bridge. It seems like your highness purposely ordered them to do that, right? Their goal was to draw people away from me, giving your highness the chance. If you weren't the crown prince, how could those people listen to you? Chen Ning said in a calm voice. That's not certain. I am not the crown prince. I could be the leader of the envoys, and they will still listen to my orders. His eyes sparkled. He didn't expect her to be smarter than he thought. Is that so? According to what I know, the East Qin country respects the eagle, and all the royal disciples will have an eagle tattoo on their chest. As everyone knows, the East Qin emperor only has a single prince, and he has been titled the crown prince since he was 7. If you're not the crown prince, where did the eagle tattoo on your chest come from? I believe that in the entire East Qin country, there is no one that dares to tattoo the royal family's symbol on their chest. Your Highness, are you satisfied with what I've said? After Chen Ning said this, she stood up and moved her stiff limbs. She took 2 steps before turning around and saying, Your Highness, can I leave now? The East Qin Crown Prince suddenly jumped up from the ground and stood in front of her. His tall body blocked the light from the lantern above his head, covering her in a dark shadow. No, you can't. Oh, who would have thought that His Highness the Crown Prince would actually be a person who doesn't keep his words? This Crown Prince is a man of his words. If I say I'll let you go, then I'll let you go. However, this Crown Prince never promised to let you go immediately. The East Qin Crown Prince placed his hands on his hips, and his eyes revealed a sly smile. The East Qin Crown Prince placed his hands on his waist and revealed a smile. Qin, you are indeed smart, the smartest woman I have ever seen in my life. Do you think this prince will let you go? He revealed a proud smile. It was an arrogant and wild smile, a smile without any fear. He looked at her condescendingly, as if he was looking at a little white rabbit that had fallen into the claws of a wolf. His interest in her grew stronger and stronger. Chapter 598. This was the first time he had seen this kind of smart and beautiful girl. If he let her go like this, then he would not be the smartest person in the world, but rather the biggest idiot in the world. This prince still plans on making you my woman. He narrowed his eyes and prepared to see her flustered appearance. It would be as cute as an angry kitten. Chen Ning looked up and looked right into his eyes. That pair of eagle-like eyes, sharp and sharp. I think your highness has fallen for me, right? I think I need to tell your highness that I am already married. She softly said, Oh, already married? Does that mean you have a husband? Is it the black-clothed man that wanted to kill me that day, or the white-clothed brat tonight? Or is it both? The East Qin Crown Prince said with a grin, looking like he didn't care at all. Chen Ning bit her lips. This East Qin Crown Prince was even harder to deal with than she had imagined. Wasn't he the respected crown prince of a country? How could his face be this thick? Little girl, so what if you're already married? Our East Qin country is not like your West Chu country that cares about those broken rules. In our East Qin country, We rely on strength and fists to speak. No matter which woman it is, as long as a man likes her, it doesn't matter if she's married or not. As long as your fist is hard, you could take her over. Tell this prince, just who is your husband. This prince wants to compete with him. If he loses to this prince, then you will be mine. The East Chin crown prince patted his thick chest, showing off his strength. He indeed had the capital and qualifications to be proud, because in the entire East Chin country, there was no one that was his match. Your Highness, this is West Chu, not East Chin. Chen Ning said in a sarcastic voice. So what if it's West Chu? Aren't you still defeated by our East Chin? Little girl, you still don't know, but even your country's emperor has to be polite and respectful when he sees this prince. If he knew that this prince liked a girl from your West Chu country, he would be overjoyed. He would immediately give you a decree to this prince. But this prince is willing to give you a chance to show your face. I'm willing to have a fair fight with your man in front of everyone and take you from his hands. However, your West Chu men are all as weak as chickens. Not a single one is this prince's match. So, you'll be this prince's woman sooner or later. How about you give yourself to this prince now? His eyes lit up, as if there was an endless amount of energy that he wanted to release. He suddenly grabbed her hand and pulled her into his embrace. She couldn't help falling into his embrace. The East Chin crown prince broke out in laughter as he picked her up and said, "This is a good place. It's quiet, and there's no one around. There definitely won't be anyone disturbing the matter between you and this prince." Woo! There was an annoying fellow following us, but he was still sent away by this prince. Chen Ning's heart skipped a beat, and she pretended she didn't care as she asked, "West of this prince." Chen's heart, of that of him, of this. She silently let the East Chin crown prince hug her without struggling, because she knew that the more she struggled, the more it would stimulate this man's desire to conquer. Chapter 599. That's right. Could it be that he is also your little lover? There really are a lot of wasps in the fragrance of flowers. One or two of them are really annoying, but they are not this prince's match. The East Chin crown prince carried her as he walked away from the hot spring. He knew that there were several warm rooms on the side that were beautifully decorated, but no one came here. So he openly took this place as his own, treating it like his own home and staying here. Wait a minute. Chen Ning suddenly spoke up. She knew what he wanted to do. If he carried her into the room, she would be a bird in a cage, unable to escape. What? You don't like entering the room? You like staying here? Ha ha. Sleeping on the ground, this prince likes it. He looked up with a laugh. Chen Ning's face couldn't help turning red as she scolded. Rogue. Lu Ho. This prince already told you last time. My surname is not Lu, and I'm not called Lu Ho. Woo, you still don't know this prince's name, right? I am called Namu Kuo. This prince likes you and is willing to give you a special honor. You can call this prince Akuo. He revealed a toothy smile. His snow-white teeth shined under the starlight, like a wild beast baring its fangs. Namu Kuo? Akuo? This person really lived up to his name. He was completely wrong. Okay, Akuo, I want to see him, she said straightforwardly. He smiled. He liked her straightforward personality, just like the girls of their East Chin country. He originally only had a 30% interest in her, but now it had increased to 50%. Who do you want to see? Your little lover? All right, this prince is in a good mood today, so I'll let you see him. But you can't go with him, otherwise this prince will kill him. All right, I won't go with him. Put me down first. Namu Kuo put her down and placed his two large hands on her shoulders. He leaned over and said with a smile, "Are you starting to like me? Do you like my people? Or my songs? Also, my face is not bad, right?" She almost couldn't help laughing at his smug, arrogant look. This was the first time she had seen someone as narcissistic as him. He was born with a golden spoon in his mouth and had a noble status. Adding in his intelligence, he had never met any setbacks before. When everyone saw him, other than flattering him, they would do everything they could to please him. So he had this kind of personality. If I tell you that I don't like you at all, I don't like you, I don't like your songs, and I don't like your face, will you let me go? She looked at him in a serious manner. What? You don't like me? How is that possible? Which part of this prince cannot compare to your little lover? You. Namu Kyo stared at her in disbelief and gritted his teeth. All right, just you wait. I'll bring him to see you now. I'll beat him until he begs for mercy in front of you. He. Very soon, she heard a voice scolding. You're despicable and shameless. What kind of hero are you to launch a sneak attack? If you have the guts, fight me fair and square. It was Zhue Feng, not Mo Chuan. She bit her lips and thought this was bad. If even Zhue Feng fell into Nam Mu Kyo's hands, who would report this to Mo Chuan? Chapter 600. Namu Kyo said with a smile, This brat's martial arts aren't that great, but his mouth is quite strong. His curses are very unpleasant to hear. His throwing technique was very clever. Zhue Feng's back fell to the ground, and he only felt a bit of pain before he could move his limbs again. Zhue Feng jumped up like a fish and looked at Namu Kyo with eyes filled with shock. He had always thought that the other side had launched a sneak attack, but who would have thought that Namu Kyo's martial arts would be so profound? He knew that he would never be able to do such a thing. Hey, brat, who are you to her? Husband or lover? Namu Kyo pointed at Chen Ning and asked in a loud voice. Zhue Feng's face couldn't help turning red as he angrily said, What nonsense are you saying? I'm not anyone. What, you're not a person? Namu Kyo stared at him and broke out in laughter. Zhue Feng's face turned red to his ears. My meaning is that I'm not her husband or lover. How could he have the courage to have ideas about his master's beloved girl? Namu Kyo stopped laughing and looked at him with a suspicious gaze. Then you secretly admire her? Not at all, Zhue Feng angrily said. He found that he was not this man's match, but the princess was in his hands. What should he do? Should he charge forward and fight to the death with this man to let the princess escape? Or should he find a chance to steal her and then report to the emperor? He couldn't make up his mind. Hey, stinky brat, your eyes are moving around. It's clear you have bad intentions. Don't think you can trick me. Namu Kyo reached out with a large palm, and his body moved forward, suddenly pressing down on Zhue Feng's shoulder. Zhue Feng's shoulder shrank back, and he barely dodged this grab. His right hand reached out to his waist, and there was already a silver snake-like whip in his hand. This was his weapon. He didn't use it easily. At this time, he knew that he had met a strong opponent. So how could he care about the rules of martial arts? The other side was this strong, so if he didn't use a weapon, he would not be a match at all. He waved his silver whip, and a strong gust of wind flew out at a tricky angle at Namu Kyo's face. Hey, insignificant skills, you actually have the face to take them out. Your whip is truly lacking. Let me teach you what it means to be the ancestor of the whip. Namu Kyo said with a face full of disdain. Zhue Feng suddenly felt the whip tighten as Namu Kyo tightly grabbed it. He was shocked and forcefully tried to pull it back, shouting, Let it! Namu Kyo smiled and said, Fine, I'll let you go. I'll return it to you. Zhue Feng was using all his strength, but who would have thought that the other side would let go just like that? He used all his strength on himself and felt a pain in his chest like he had been hit by a large hammer. His throat felt sweet, and he spat out a mouthful of blood. Silver light FLQO, Mu Qo. Ling, and the Kama, Mu Kachuhi saw and Fong of Kama Titi of Moziti of ZH of Fong, Mu ZH of Zhue Feng's face turned red, filled with shame. Although he knew that he was not a match, he never thought that he would lose in a single move. Not only was he spitting out blood, he was also restrained by his own weapon to the point where he could not move. You're tuning in to the Romance Rendezvous YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference. as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.